up, Woodward. We are starting off your day with a brand new crew. Meet Broder.
I can't control my arms sometimes. My limbs are just kind of flying.
Detroit Kool-Aid.
Fired up!
Y'all got Kool-Aid.
I'm fired up! But with the Wake Up Woodward crew, he's actually a part of the family.
Flannel Sam.
Ask me about my wiener! Okay.
Along with JB and KG. Wake Up Woodward gets you all of your Detroit sports talk. Every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Live on Woodward Sports. A show for Detroit, by Detroit, with people from Detroit. Tell Siri to set an alarm, because it's time to Wake Up Woodward.
Two-time Olympian, the first Russia to win undisputed titles at 3 different weight classes. Last night, she became the first ever undisputed women heavyweight champion of the world. Give it up for Clarissa, the Crew
Man, Pistons just didn't have enough for this one tonight, and they go down to the Hawks. Trae Young hit a tough shot, man. Tough shot. At the end of the shot clock buzzer, left 1.6 seconds. The Pistons, they just couldn't do anything on the inbound play. But we're about to head to the press conference and talk about it. K did show out, but the defense let up too many points tonight. So let me know what you guys think. What up, though, people? It's not a victory show, but it is Wake Up Woodward. And I know one thing, we're grateful that you guys have chosen to kick off the day with the WUW Crew. And we got a whole show planned for you. We got a whole show for you. It's your boy, Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid. You get into Pistons reporter and writer for the network. And Flannel Sam, vet of the squad, vet of the network, Red Wings correspondent, all sports knower. What up, though, brother?
That was a heartbreaker last night. I'm not going to lie. You know how I feel about the Atlanta Hawks. Really thought that the Pistons were going to win that one, but honestly, as the game was shaping out, it just felt like the Pistons were in an uphill battle damn near from the middle of the second quarter on. And I know they took the lead late in the fourth quarter, and of course Trae Young then hit a three to give it right back to Atlanta. It was just a tough loss, and unfortunately we got to break down the heartbreaking losses just like the exhilarating wins.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing about those Detroit Pistons is this. JB Bickerstaff said something very interesting a couple times now. They're learning. Yeah. And when you have the target on your back, and it inspired the question that I did ask Beef Stew that we will get into. But you know what? You want to tell the people what we are talking about? And then I'm going to tell the people why I'm dressed kind of spiffy today.
Yes.
Got the suit on. Got some things planned today.
Well, we got to break down the Pistons' loss to the Hawks, but of course, the biggest news, not just in Lions talk, but in the entire NFL, is that All-Pro defensive end from the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, has requested a trade. Oh, by the way, the Los Angeles Rams are going to look to trade Mr. Cooper Kupp. So this is a transactional Tuesday. That's what this show is. It's kind of themed that way. And if we've got time, there's a certain Lions former assistant coach that got a promotion to another organization, and I just want to pose the question, we'll either get to it today or tomorrow. Is he the one that got away? But first, tell us why you're dressed so spiffy.
Hey, you know what? There are a couple of events today. One of the things that I love about this season, covering the Pistons, is that they're winning on the court, they're winning off the court. And it makes me proud to see, because that was what a lot of people were saying. It was getting so cynical to the point they were like, yeah, that's awesome what you guys did for all those families, but can we get some dubs, though? So now they got dubs in the chat on both sides of the thing, and today there's a couple of events here. You guys know on this platform, we've talked about the legend Earl Curitan, Detroit legend as well, UDM Titan. They're actually, he did a lot of work to help restore and be a part of the restoration of St. Cecilia's Gym. We know that there have been many legendary players who started their careers there, like Magic Johnson and Greg Kelser. That's where they actually met. That's where they devised. JB will love this. Remember, he said it on the show. That's where they devised, shout out to Greg Kelser, to go to Michigan State together and go do work. And so it was awesome to hear from Earl. He was the person who early on he gave me every interview. He would seek me out, and he would ask about my family. He was very personal. He would ask about, hey, what are the things I can do to just help you? And it was an awesome thing. I would always interview him, and he would always turn it around at the end. So shout out to him. They're going to be renaming the street out in front of St. Cecilia's Gym, or down the side of St. Cecilia's Gym, after Earl Cureton. And then right after that, it's still a little somber because it is Black History Month. And the Detroit Pistons are going to host their 20th annual Black History Month scholarship event. This is hosted by Rick Mahorn. Why I say somber is because it's generally been hosted by Rick Mahorn and Earl Cureton. So looking forward to being down there with kind of the Pistons brass and such. And you know what? We might have a pretty important interview with one Dwayne Casey. Oh. We will have that on the show tomorrow. So Stick and I, we were already talking about it. Pistons PR. They said that they're actually looking forward to this. So I'm looking forward to being able to sit down and talk to Dwayne Case, who's currently Detroit Pistons front office executive. He's one of the VPs now. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a fantastic event, and I'm glad that we're able to put it on in the city of Detroit. Of course, continuance RIP to Mr. Earl Cureton.
Thank you for that, man. And just, man. The Detroit Pistons, Atlanta Hawks, 132 to 130 loss. And this from the start, you could just tell there was energy that was just not there for the Pistons that the Hawks had. Obviously, second game of the back-to-back, and the Pistons have to learn how to deal with that. And they're learning how to deal with a bunch of different things this year. They're learning, hey, where do we go to get that extra well of energy after we've had a good stretch of games, and now we're on the second game of the back-to-back. You have to win those games, and they're learning that. And that's what allows me to just kind of sit back and know, I think they got the right recipe, so let me just see who they are through trends of the season rather than the overreact, underreact game by game by game. And there was something interesting that J.B. Bickerstaff also stated too. They're having to learn to play now with the target on their back. They're not surprising anybody. People are showing up to pop them. Why? Because they're also talking and running their mouths. And so it's putting these other teams in a position where, you know, Trae Young loves it, man. Trae Young loves to talk. He loves to yap. And I'm going to get to what Beef Stew had to say about this target on their back. And shout out to Jennifer Hammond to a Fox 2. She was there last night and always has some good things to say about Woodward Sports. But you know what, man? My son, you might like this, my youngest son. Both of them, Kid Kool-Aid and Junior Kool-Aid, were watching the game last night, right, brother? And my wife texted me like, yo, the Suns are heartbroken at the end of it. And I said, why? They were like, I don't know, but they're just yelling, I hate Trae Young. I hate him. And he just falls down and he's never even touched. And he just gets the fouls. And I'm just like, you know what? They understand it, man. They understand it. I'm so glad to know that they have picked it up. I didn't even instill this in them. They just picked it up naturally.
Well, it's hard to watch Trae Young for any longer than 2 seconds and like the guy, unless you're an Atlanta Hawks fan.
And he's only 8, bro. My son's only 8.
My takeaway from last night's game, and you're right, you can't overreact to losses, but I'm mad because it's the Atlanta Hawks. But I will say this. Yeah. I hate Trae Young. I hate his foul baiting. I hate that he looks like a little rat on the court. I hate all of that. The foul baiting, it happened at least 10 times. I was there.
Hate his hat. Hate his hair.
Hate it. Oh, I definitely hate his hair. Comb that shit, please. But, however, do you know what I hate more than anything that I just said? The fact that I've got to give that man a lot of credit for how he played last night. Because I'm not going to have Trae Young derangement syndrome. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Trae Young was absolutely big time last night. 34 points, 9 assists on only 16 shots. That's what you can't let Trae Young do. Be hyper efficient. And that's what Trae Young was last night. And it was, of course, punctuated by that game-winning shot that he hit right over Malik Beasley, who was playing good defense, by the way. Yep. It was just better offense. And I was at that game again for the 3rd time in a row. And as Trae Young was dribbling it down, I was thinking, is that man going to dribble out the shot clock? But of course, he was able to put one up with literally like 0.5 left on the shot clock. A really tough jumper that he was able to hit, like I said, right in the face of Malik Beasley. Just, it was a heartbreaking game. I hate the fact that I have to give Trae Young credit. But if you're Trae Young, he's probably feeling like he got snubbed from the All-Star game and is trying to get the Atlanta Hawks season back on track. And when he's on, he's damn good, and he still leads the NBA in assists, and he's still capable of going for a 34-9 burger on any given night, and that's just what he did. And there's no Trae Young slander today. He played great. All there is to it.
Yeah, that's all that there is to it, man. You definitely tip the cap to him. All my family down in Atlanta, I've heard from them already. I woke up this morning to a text message of my cousin sending me a Trae Young. Look at this, dog. What is this? Like, come on, cuzzo. Like, what are we doing here, man? And it's like, you know what? It's all fun and games, and we can do this now and laugh about it because the Pistons are actually making noise right now. Because when you still look at the standings last night, this is a game that I would have loved to see the Pistons handle business in. But, hey, I see you down there, Atlanta Hawks. I see you down there in the 23 and 27 zone. Shout out to our Pistons who are 25 and 25, which they've just passed. That means that they did pass the over. The season starting over was 24.5 games for these Detroit Pistons. And that's why I say, you know what? With this team, we definitely will criticize from game to game. We'll talk about the things that we like, the things that we didn't like. But as it relates to this team as a whole, they're exceeding expectation. And sometimes you got to take a step back and view it that way. It's not that you go easy on them in losses, but it's just the fact that I want to see who this team is going to be as it relates to resiliency. When the Lions would have a letdown, who are you going to be? Who are you after the next turnover? Who are you after the first loss? And that's what I want to see out of this squad. You know, if you get a loss or two, are you able to stave that off and fight back with some character? And what we've seen from them this year is that they've been able to do that pretty effectively. And hey, let's hear from Beef Stew about this target on his back. And he also spoke to what JB Bickerstaff spoke to. It's interesting. Last year, Monty kept stepping to the podium. Monty Williams, as head coach, saying, oh, man, I got to do better. I got to do better. JB Bickerstaff, when it's on him, he'll say that. But when it's on the players, he steps to the podium, and I wish I cut that up and just says it. Like, nah, dog, like their energy. I told them this, and they know it. And we're just like, all right. But let's hear Beef Stew. It's a couple questions here. One from the Hammer and then one from Woodward Sports. Let's rock.
Said that you guys weren't mentally dialed in, Isaiah. Is that something that you felt, you saw, and can you kind of pinpoint how this?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. You know, we definitely wasn't dialed in on the defensive end tonight. You know, we knew the job we had to do coming out. You know, obviously we got one at their place, and you know, we knew they were coming out with that same energy. So, you know, we didn't match that, and we waited too late to try to turn it off.
Have you all noticed if teams are really turning it on when they know that they're playing the Pistons? So obviously, you guys are off to a start where you're within postseason positioning right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, we're definitely I feel like a target now. You know, obviously winning games and you know, turning things around this season. You know, teams are coming to play against us, and you know, they know what kind of game it's going to be.
Yeah, and what's awesome is that he's echoing exactly what we hear the coach saying as well. These players are taking accountability and responsibility in losses and in wins. And that's why I said that you have to learn this stuff. These teams like the Atlanta Hawks right now, for better or for worse, even with their record, they still have a little bit different energy, a little bit different experience that the Pistons are learning about right now. We talked about even the going to work Pistons having to learn to play the right way. That was their whole motto. Even the great Chauncey Billups said that. Larry Brown brought that mantra. You got to learn to play the right way. And I believe that the Pistons are learning to play the right way. With that's going to come some letdowns, but largely I'm looking at who this team is going to be, especially just before this All-Star break. Can you find yourself a couple games above 500?
Oh, I hope so. And, man, that would have been a nice one to get, to actually put them 2 games over 500.
I hate losing to the Hawks.
I hate losing to the Hawks, too. And what I hate, too, is what Mark Royal said. And I wasn't even going to give it the time of day, but the chat is giving him hell in return, so I'm proud of you guys. Pistons need Ivy back to finish these close games. Cade isn't clutch in end game situations.
Come on.
Let me just say you a riddle really quick. Who tied the game, bitch? Who tied the game, bitch? Who tied the game, bitch? Cade Cunningham. Did you not see that? Did you not see that? When they were down by 2, Cade Cunningham with the driving layup to tie the game. I understand that he had a late game turnover. I understand that he didn't shoot the ball that well, and you can criticize him for that, I suppose. But the reality is that he still put up 30 points. He was living at the free throw line, 13 of 13, 14 assists, and the Pistons put up 130 points. The reason why the Pistons lost this game was you can't expect in the National Basketball Association, even in a more offensive era, to give up 132 points in regulation and win basketball games. You just can't do it.
Nope.
And Isaiah Stewart said as much in his press conference that the defense just wasn't there. And when I was watching the game, the thing that I noticed, particularly in the first 3 quarters, was the Atlanta Hawks were getting so many wide open looks from behind the arc, and they knocked them down at a 42% clip on 16 three-point shots made. And in particular, it was DeAndre Hunter and Vic Krejci and Larry Nance Jr. were just getting wide open looks way too often. And those 3 combined shot, I believe, 9 of 18 from 3. And then Trae Young, mostly from creating 3-point opportunities himself, shot 4 of 8. And that's ultimately why the Pistons lost, because you can't give up 132 points in regulation in an NBA basketball game and win, even in this era.
Yeah, the Hawks, they ran out lineups where it seemed like they had like 4 wing players on the court at one time, or 3 wing players, Trae and a big, and they were just allowing the wings the permission to just drive and hit the gaps at any point in time. And so it's an offense that they used to run, that college teams and other teams used to run pretty regularly, that I don't see anymore in this 3-point shooting era. About 20 years ago, they did this regularly. This is how everyone was taught the game. As soon as the ball swung to you, you hit the dive. If it's not there, you dribble back out. And the Hawks did that time and time again. And what that did was absorb the defense of the Pistons inward, and now they're scrambling once the Hawks pass the ball back out to the perimeter, and then they start swinging around the perimeter, they're trailing. And the Hawks, they put 3 or 4 good 3-point shooters out there around Trae Young, and it was just kind of murder she wrote at that point in time for their defense, and they were trailing, especially with no energy. And just for this Cade Cunningham stuff, it seems like people don't understand the usage that he has and just how much the stats are going to be inflated across the board, including turnovers and missed shots. People focus on what he didn't do, but clutch moments are considered the last 5 minutes, and sometimes people increase that to the last 5.5 minutes of the game. I know the NBA officially recognizes the last 5 minutes for clutch points. Cade entered the league as one of the top clutch players in all of the NBA. And Kevin Durant in his rookie season talked about it. But just in last night's game, Cade started off when it was 119 to 113 with the Hawks in the lead, right? Cade hit 2 free throws at the 5:34 mark. Cade hit 2 free throws at the 5:25 mark, up to 4 points. Cade hit a 27-point three-pointer at the 4:51 mark. So you telling me about that my man in 30 seconds just put up 7 points, and now the Pistons are 121 to 117. But what kept happening? Trae Young was entering. Cade at the 406 mark, another free throw. That's 8 points. Cade Cunningham, another 2 free throws. That's 10 points. Cade Cunningham, a 4-foot 2-point shot to tie the game. We're talking about 12 points in the last about 5 minutes of the game. That's insane. And people want to focus on effectively if there's a mistake or 2 here or there from a player who gave you the opportunity to have a chance to win. There are so many other mistakes and so many other things that happen that I don't put a loss like that on a Cade Cunningham. Criticize him, yes. Do you want him to be better? Yes. Do you want him to tighten up the handles and be perfect? You definitely want him to. But when you don't have a number 2 and a number 3 like some of these other players out there in the league have, these are some of the things that's going to happen when your usage is at like insane levels of 30 plus per game. These just happen. But you can't overshadow the fact that they had an opportunity to win that game last night because Cade put up 12 points in the last 5:34 in the game. Like, it just is what it is. And there was nothing they could do with him after that point in time. It just is what it is.
Well, and the thing is, and you're right, the people's definition of clutch, I think, is very skewed to did you hit the game-winning shot or not. However, if you want more of the what you think is clutch, if all you want to talk about is did you hit the game tie or did you hit the game winner, Cade literally hit the game-tying shot. Yes, he turned the ball over when the Pistons had possession with an opportunity to take the lead.
Bad design. He shouldn't be taking it out.
Absolutely. Like, I get it, but at the same time, he did what it took to tie the game. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't just him. Malik Beasley had a great night shooting from 3. Jalen Duren offensively was catching lobs left and right and dunking the ball, which we love to see as well. I thought Asar played well, but my thing is, yes, 8 for 23 from the floor, 1 of 6 from 3. That's not great. That's not something that Cade probably thinks is acceptable, and quite frankly, it's not. But I just don't like when people make blanket statements. If you want to say he's got to shoot better last night, I am totally with you. If you want to say that he shouldn't have got the ball stripped from, or that play design to Tobias was a little bit bad, maybe the pass wasn't great. I'm with you on that. But when you make blanket statements like you need someone in there to close games because Cade Cunningham can't do it, that's where I get off the highway with you, because I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, for everybody who thinks I'm insane for thinking there are Ivy bros out there, wink, wink, wink. And I don't hate Ivy, by the way. I love Ivy. It's just the taking away of credit from one to give it to the other. I don't like that.
Yeah. What last night did highlight is, the absence of Ivy. Ivy and Cade were really developing into a special backcourt duo, and that kind of off guard and backup facilitation is what we're missing with Jaden Ivey. And then down the stretch of games, we saw that he was able to get downhill. He's able to put pressure on the defense. And one thing they're missing right now that they don't quite have, and it's kind of sporadic when they get foul calls or not, Jaden Ivey forced issues with fouls. His free throw rate coming out of college was awesome, and he trajectorized to have one similar to that of Dwayne Wade in the NBA. And that, to me, is what they're also missing. He used to be a guy who could go in there and instantly put 2 fouls on the defense. After you get 4, you're shooting free throws the rest of the way. And there's some of those calls where a guard is able to play a little bit more aggressively on Cade Cunningham, that if Jaden Ivey was there earlier in the game, we kind of like track some of this stuff. Those would be free throws for Cade Cunningham, whereas now it's take the ball out on the side. So there's these little ripple and domino effects of not having a player like Jaden Ivey there, that now all of a sudden you're having to get a little bit more from other players who don't quite have his skill set, but they're actually be doing a lot more. We talk about next man up with the Lions, and we accepted that, you know what, we're getting the best of some of these guys. We're getting the best of Pascal when he was stepping up. We're getting the best out of Vildor. We're getting the best out of some of these rotational guys. And that's what's happening right now. And you need more. You do, because what we saw to Tobias and Jalen Duran last night, I thought was actually pretty good.
And you know what? Shout out to Tobias Harris as well. He's had 3 really good games in a row, and I wish that we could come in today and just give him a lot of credit. I was hoping I could ask Chase and JB if they would give him one attaboy, but I'm not going to do that after a loss, even though it wasn't Tobias Harris's fault. And that's okay. That's all right, JB. They lost. But someday, I'm hoping that Tobias Harris can continue to play well and the Pistons can continue to win like they did the previous 2 and unlike they did last night, and JB and Chase can finally give him one attaboy. I'm not asking you to say that it was a great signing. I'm not asking you to say that you love what he's done all year. I just don't want you guys to have blind derangement syndrome. I had to get up here and give a shit ton of credit to Trae Young. You know how much that pains me? I hated it. But when you drop 34 and 9 assists on 16 shots, including the game winner right in Malik Beasley's face, there's nothing that I can say. Absolutely nothing. And I hate it. And do you know what else I hate more than anything? More than all of this? All these things I hate revolve around me. Shout out Bullet for my Valentine. But anywho, the thing that I really hate is that I come in here and you have a couple of people who use this game to basically crap all over Cade Cunningham and say that he isn't clutch. Here's what I'll ask you. Where were you after the 40 burger? Where were you after the 22 point and 15 assist game? Where were you at the beginning of the year when they played the Hawks at Little Caesars Arena and Cade Cunningham hit the game-winning layup? Where were all you guys there? Quiet as a bleeping mouse.
I got one too. Because they're better than NBA coaches. They know better than NBA coaches, right? Where were you when Cade Cunningham was voted by NBA coaches as an all-star? That's the point. It's like, now you're silly. I don't think people understand, like, the certification that now comes with them actually winning, them exceeding everyone's expectations, even the trolls, them exceeding coaches' expectations, to the point that the narrative now is, it's the Pistons. You have to talk about us. You got to put us in MVP conversations. Cade is coming in at like number 11, I believe, on the latest one. You have to. And so it's just like, now you just sound very, very silly. Did we always know that the skill set was there? Yes, we did. Did we know that they had to figure some things out as it relates to the stability of the organization and as well as his outlook after the leg surgery? Yes, we did. Do we know that they need to put a little bit more around him even now? Yes, we do. But just look at just this marginal just drop in the water and look at how already this team, 25 and 25 through 50 games. They have 32 games left in the season. That's it. That's it. And all-star guy on a trajectory where people aren't even saying, well, is he an All-NBA? People are just saying, yeah, he's on a trajectory. He's on a crash course for All-NBA, especially if he gets a top 6 spot. And people are saying, man, you know what? If they match up with the New York Knicks, that could be very favorable. Why? Because we've seen. Why do people say that? It's because of one person.
It's because of one person.
It's because of one person.
Because of
the
one
last
person.
6 games in Madison Square Garden is because of Cade Cunningham.
Yep.
And that's what I'm talking about. So it gets silly. It gets to the point where now those types of people, you almost just ignore it because it's no longer about actual basketball conversation, because that starts in the NBA and the coaches say he's an all-star. The stats say he's an all-star. The stats say he's putting up something historical. Only 8 other players in the history of the game have, and this year only 2. Well, LeBron crept back in there. 3 players with that stat line. So I don't know. It's like argue with your mama. Don't do that. That's disrespectful to her. Argue with a wall. How about that?
Yeah, and obviously it's the minority, and that's a good thing. But despite the poor shooting night, he gave you 30 points and 14 assists on 23 shots. That man, fortunately, and unlike usually, was living at the free throw line. Shout out to the refs for actually calling some fouls on Cade. I thought they called some ticky-tack ones that were committed on Trae Young, but at least they gave Cade Cunningham his free throws. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Last night, that was one of those ones. It was like, there were things you don't like from last night's game from the referees, but at least Cade got his free throws. And KG, man, because I know we're already over, but we had to talk about the Pistons, man. We gave them a whole 30 burger to start, man. What up, though, about these Pistons,
I
man?
mean, you pretty much broke it down, but they're a young team. Back-to-backs are tough. Not trying to make excuses for them, but, depending on, seeing how they came out last night kind of indicated, okay, it's going to be one of them nights, and eventually it was. But I'm looking at the macro with this team. You got improved play from Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren. They have really been putting on the last few games, so shout out to them. And I just like how this team is coming together. I like Asar in the starting lineup. I like how Cade is going out there night in and night out and just giving it to the opposing defense. So I'm not mad at what happened last night. They'll be okay. And even if they're one of those back and forth teams, okay, they're under 500, okay, they're over 500, they'll still be hovering around 40 some odd wins. So I think that this team is in a very good spot right now. Just keep playing. Some nights are going to be tougher than others, but just keep going out there, putting your best effort out there, and this team will be fine, especially if we can keep getting your vets balling like they have been and improve play from Jalen Duren.
And one more thing, too. There's benefit to all these home games that they're having right now, back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And then you get an all-star break because they have shooters. Shooters shoot. But the one thing we know is dead legs will drain.
Absolutely.
All day long. The all-star break. Now, you hear J.B. Bickerstaff talk about their chemistry and they're settling in and everything. If they were able to find chemistry during Cade's rookie season to have their best stretch before this season of games, imagine now with shooters. Imagine now with ball creators. Imagine now with young players who are taking that step forward and they're getting a week off to just heal. Sometimes just getting a weekend off. Like the first weekend without Lions coverage, it was sad, but it was like, oh, man, I can breathe. These guys are going to get an all-star break worth of time to be able to be with family, to be able to clear their heads, to be able to let their bodies heal. And we all know anyone who works out, anyone who's played in these types of sports, even as it relates to just rec league, you already understand. You take a couple days, you come back, and you feel like somebody gave you speed, uncut.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I look forward to what this team can be post All-Star break, but you have to handle business right now. It would be beautiful if they can go up a couple games over 500.
It'd be nice.
That'd be nice, man.
Can I just say one more thing? And I know that I shouldn't give this guy the time of day.
Hey, hold on, let me throw the lob.
But Matthew Kruger, do you have an IQ above 40?
Right, where he did.
Do you have an IQ above 40? Because I'm about to drop some facts all up in you. Because this is just probably the dumbest thing ever said in our chat in history. Anyone who calls the guy clutch who goes 8 for 23 shooting is crazy. So no other player in the history of NBA has gone 8 for 23 in a game. Did you know that in Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals, Kobe Bryant went 6 for 24 and the Lakers still won? Shit like that happens. Did you know that in the 2016 Finals, Game 7, LeBron James, that game where he had the 27-point triple-double, the block, all that, 9 of 24. Did you know that in the 1996 NBA Finals, Michael Jordan had a performance in which he was 5 of 19 and 6 of 19? And oh, by the way, 9 of 22. It happens to everybody. So if you're trying to single out Cade Cunningham as, oh my God, one game he shot 8 for 23, that is the worst single occurrence of the year 2025, and that's not hyperbole. Like, I actually want to kick you out of the chat, Kruger. Thank you for watching. Actually, Fuck you for watching.
Whoa.
Get out. Bye. See you.
Jeez. And you know what, man?
Just I have no tolerance for idiocy. That's my thing. Like, I'm okay if you want to criticize Cade for last night, like he didn't shoot the ball that well. I get it. He didn't. I know. But blanket statements is just where I want to lose my mind.
Apparently, they would have had a better chance at winning if Cade didn't play, I guess. Is that what they're trying to intimate? And like I continue to tell people, if you talk about clutch, the one thing that I noticed sitting there watching the game, all of us in media row, including the Hawks media, they were like, oh boy, here he goes. Why? Because you look at the play-by-play from the last 5:30 of the game, and you see an efficient ball player who went to town, went to task against the Hawks, and brought the Pistons back from a 6-point deficit to be able to win, while Trae Young was still burying threes and hitting shots and getting free throws at the same time. To have tied it up when you know you're playing another flamethrower just shows kind of the lack of it just shows that people aren't as kind of cued into what's actually going on in the game. I don't want to insult anybody else's ball knowledge. I'll just tell people, go and look at the play-by-play, go back and look at the game, and that just is what it is, man.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Well,
The refined response.
Yeah, I think I may have given a little bit too much time to some of these folks. But you know what? I just have no tolerance for idiocy after something like that. And there was a lot of idiocy in this chat. But you know what is not idiocy? Myles Garrett on the NFL field. That man is the exact opposite. That man is elite. And he might have just requested a trade, and we've got a lot to break down when it comes to that. But first, I got to tell you about Planet Fitness, where I'm sure Myles Garrett gets some off-season workouts in, although I'm sure he'd set off the lunk alarm because he is just so damn big. No disrespect to him. At Planet Fitness, there are 50-plus Metro Detroit locations where your fitness is essential. You could get a membership at your home gym for just $15 a month if you want to get in shape. Just keep up your New Year's resolution, or if you want to upgrade to the Black Card for only $24.99 per month, you can get access to any Planet Fitness across the world. Join today in club or online. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
WoodwardSports.com and click on Shop. Get the latest in Detroit sports apparel and exclusive Woodward Sports gear. WoodwardSports.com can get the whole team outfitted. Love the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers? We got something for you, too. Shop online at WoodwardSports.com.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage, hot leather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. Step up your game this season and take advantage of our $20 haircut special. Scan the QR code and get your coupon today. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, the ultimate haircut experience. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins always welcome. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Gives away more cash and prizes than Woodward Sports. You don't believe us? Here's our latest $10,000 winner.
You guys posted, hey, if you guess all this stuff right, we'll give it's $10,000. I'm like, okay, well, why the hell not?
And the winning doesn't stop there. How about our Outkick Your Coverage winner?
I think you won. We got This guy's got a hot girl.
Bigger prizes, bigger giveaways, cash, merch, tickets, and more. All from the biggest sports network in Detroit. No one does it bigger and better than Woodward Sports. Make sure you're following, liking, subscribing on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube for your chances to share in the winning. From Detroit's #1 sports network, Woodward Sports.
Football's biggest game is right around the
corner.
Make some money. Make sure you get ready to make the most out of your favorite sports with the best sports book made in Michigan for Michigan. I'm talking about Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Fund your online account with cash. No need to link any credit card or bank account, and you get 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus 50 free spins as well too. Visit playeagle.com. Look for Eagle Casino and Sports on your Android and Apple phone, and also please don't drink and gamble with 1800. Oh, wait.
Final. Oh, or KG.
Oh, it's a
Who's
KG,
up?
actually.
Oh,
saying?
well, 1800
Who won?
tequila. Somebody got to take the tequila read. But 1800 tequila is the best tequila in the game right now, and the official tequila of Lions Woodward Sports watch parties and the post-game shows. And it's also the official tequila of your and our Detroit Lions. 1800 tequila, the best taste in tequila. And please, y'all, drink responsibly.
What up, though, people? Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward. And you know what, man? Just fresh off of a pretty good weekend in Detroit sports, a really great weekend. Let me say that. In Detroit sports, obviously, the Pistons lost. But you know what, man? What really swept over kind of social media, Detroit sports, the NFL world yesterday were a couple of names that started popping up as potentially being on the trade block. And this is interesting because more and more in recent years, I've noticed that trades are becoming more frequent, it seems, and more current, as well as how teams are utilizing their practice squad, signing players from there too. So it's interesting to see this evolution that the NFL is starting to step into. And a lot of people are hoping that the Lions are a part of it. Now, we know that the Pistons, that in the NBA, there was a couple big trades that went off. In the NFL, there are a couple big trades now that are brewing because Myles Garrett, he said he wanted to be a part of winning. He said that he would give the Cleveland Browns the opportunity to make a pitch. They made the pitch, and he didn't wait too long to say, yeah, I don't believe that, bro. And he put in out on social media, one out. Right. So now all of a sudden, everybody's minds instantly turned to, you know what, where's he going? And there was a couple of the sports books out there that had the Detroit Lions as the best odds. Obviously, I think that they just know that Detroiters love the better on their team. Maybe if they figured something out. But the best odds to be able to land a Myles Garrett in a trade, I know that we put out a graphic as well online that had a mock trade of a 2025 and a 2026 first-round pick for Myles Garrett. And what I have to ask you, Flannel Sam, is this. Should the Lions go all in for Myles Garrett, you know, KG, JB, Cavassier Chase, or what does all in look like? I really want to kind of know because listen, we were already talking about Zadarius Smith, Aiden Hutchinson. We were talking about getting Lee McNeil healthy and DJ Reader. That's solid. But you talking about adding a Myles Garrett to it. We've talked about this several times in this show. I remember Cavassier Chase. I remember you, Flannel Sam. That's just playing with straight dynamite, man. Hey, that's go boom, straight up. And I don't know if I'm getting suckered in or not, but I really want them to go all in. But I'm curious, Flannel Sam, what is all in and what protects what this team has to do going forward? Because you don't want to lose some of the players you still have to pay.
It's interesting that you asked that. And before I get to that, I just want to clean up one thing. Weezy D through and through. Hopefully y'all will put some respect on Ice Trae now. Listen to the beginning. I gave a lot of flowers to Trae Young because he played excellently last night and he hit the game winner. So shout out Weezy D313. Thank you for watching and thank you for taking your Trae Young victory lap. It's your day to do that. I know you didn't want the Hawks to win. I know you wanted the Pistons to win. So I know you're doing that in good faith. But as far as the Myles Garrett thing goes, as far as the trade, yes, the Lions should trade for Myles Garrett. And even if they have to give up the first-round pick in 2025 and the first-round pick in 2026, I think that the Lions should absolutely do that and go all in. I mean, think about it. Let's just look at Myles Garrett's resume.
Do you, really quick, do you think that's enough, though?
I don't know, but I would give up another pick.
Yeah.
I would. Maybe one of the ones you got for Aaron Glenn going to be the head coach of the New York Jets.
Tell them the resume so they can understand, because I'm to the point where if they're like, we need another one, I'm almost like, here's another one then. Hey, talk to us about it, brother.
Absolutely. 4 first-team All-Pros, Defensive Player of the Year last year. He probably actually deserves to win it this year, too. He just won't get it because the Browns were so bad. He has 102.5 sacks in 8 seasons, 7 consecutive seasons of 10-plus sacks, and he is only 30 years old. He's 29 now. He'll be 30 when the season starts. Abso-freaking-lutely. Myles Garrett is arguably the best defensive player in the entirety of the NFL. And what Myles Garrett on this team would do was give you maybe the 2 people in contention for the best defensive player in the NFL on the same freaking team. And that, of course, is Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett. It would create a edge rushing duo the likes of which has never been seen in the NFL. Never once. You have never seen anything quite like Myles Garrett on one end and Aiden Hutchinson on the other. And then that would even include, you could throw in on the defensive line, you got a Lee McNeil under a long-term contract. DJ Reader is signed. Zadarius Smith is signed. That is just as deadly as you can possibly be. And before we get into the feasibility of it, if the Lions were able to make this move, you would already have the best offense in the NFL, with the only person who may not get re-signed being Kevin Zeitler. And I think this would also give you the number one defense in the NFL if they are fully healthy. Number one, not top 5, not top 3, number one. You're talking Myles Garrett, you're talking Aiden Hutchinson, you're talking Aleem, you're talking Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. Are you kidding me? Best roster in the NFL, prohibitive favorite to win the Super Bowl at least next year, and probably in a 2025 and probably in 2026 as well, because Myles Garrett is under contract for 2 more years.
Yeah, and I trust that Brad Holmes knows exactly what he's doing. I know one of the things that we've seen from other teams out there, and we know that the Lions have done this as well, is, you know what, when it's time to restructure a contract, especially if it's for winning a Super Bowl, these teams and keeping the core pieces together, these players will do it. That's what we've seen. These guys play for each other. They support each other. And I have no worries and concerns about how Brad Holmes chooses to use the cap space, because this, to me right now, is giving yourself a great opportunity to win a Super Bowl in the next year or two if you go out there and you get a player of the ilk of a Myles Garrett. And to me, I'm glad to know that at the trade deadline, the reports came out that, you know what, Brad Holmes did attempt to try and trade for, or at least see what was up with a Myles Garrett as well as a Max Crosby. It shows that, you know, there's something that he sees there, but he played it right. I believe that he's playing it right. You allow the situation to see itself through, and I know that Myles Garrett wanted to be able to give the Browns his undivided attention as they finished out the season, and he was going to give them opportunity to make that pitch. But now that it's not there, I am hoping that with everything Brad Holmes has done to this point, he's given himself the opportunity to play ball in this court right now, which is awesome. Nonetheless, if he chooses not to, I don't believe that indicts their Super Bowl window right now. But I also believe that getting a Myles Garrett is the best thing. It's the number one thing that can help it, in my opinion.
And Myles Garrett wants to win. He said that in his statement. And shout out to Myles Garrett as well, because the Browns were an absolute dumpster fire to the highest degree last year. Following a playoff appearance, you see what happened with the Browns this year. The Deshaun Watson debacle, he got hurt. Jameis Winston is awful. Like everything, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, terrible. They won, I believe, 3 games, maybe 4. Doesn't matter, still terrible. And Myles Garrett continued to ball out and play his ass off every single game. Just imagine him in a Lions uniform. Him and Aiden Hutchinson would combine for at least 35 sacks. And that might even be on the low end. And I don't want to say they'd combine for 40, because that would mean that they'd have to average 20 between them. But 35 sacks between them is absolutely feasible for those two type of just demons. I believe that those are the 2 best defensive players in the NFL, and you'd have them on the exact same team. And Myles Garrett, because we have to talk about feasibility. Myles Garrett is signed for 2 more years, and he's not even that expensive relative to his production. And the Lions have the cap space. They got over $56 million of cap space. And Myles Garrett, in 2025, his cap hit is $19.7 million, and in 2026, it's $20.3 million. I'm sure he'll ask for an extension at some point, but if his motivation is to win, if his motivation is to come to a team that's ready-made for a Super Bowl, what better than the Detroit Lions right now? And maybe he just wants to play these 2 more years out and then hit the open market. You just never know. Whatever option is there that he wants is available for the Lions to give him.
Yeah, and it's not as if he's necessarily the missing piece. He would be a piece that just pushes this thing into hyperdrive, because I believe as currently constructed and healthy, that the Detroit Lions are Super Bowl contenders, but you add a guy like a Myles Garrett, and you give yourself. So from his perspective, I'm hoping that that's how he's seeing it as well. I can go here and be not necessarily a missing piece, but have an opportunity to go there and not have to be everything. Just know that his skill set is going to be alongside a bunch of other people who are going to need to be blocked as well. DJ Reader eats up blocks. Aleem McNeil sheds blocks. Nobody can block Aiden Hutchinson. And now it's just Myles Garrett. Like, good luck, defensive coordinators. Like, seriously. Offensive coordinators. Good luck out there. Like, how do you scheme that? How do you block that? And it does. It puts you on that path where you want to dream a little bit about how many sacks could these bookends get. You know, it's crazy because then
all the sacks.
Because then you still have Zadarius Smith. It's insane. But someone did ponder, like, if they went out and did a move like that, does that raise the feasibility of Zadarius Smith as a cut candidate?
Well, you know what? When we come back, let's talk about just how their roster is constructed and what a Myles Garrett signing, trading, just trade for Myles Garrett might look like in terms of who you keep, who you cut, who's under contract for a long time, how long's a Super Bowl window. We will try to figure that all out when we come back. But first, Sabbath Coffee.
You know what? Fuel your Detroit sports fandom with the perfect cup and become a subscriber of Sabbath Coffee Roasters. Whether you're gearing up for a big game, savoring a quiet morning, or kicking things off with the WUW Crew on Woodward Sports, Sabbath Coffee Roasters has you covered with fresh, locally roasted, specialty coffee delivered right to your door. Head to www.sabbathcoffeeroasters.com. Choose your favorite roast. Use code Woodward to get 25% off your first subscription order. Awaken and wine. Support local and enjoy game day right with Sabbath Coffee Roasters.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in a clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
Big injuries, big news. Twice a week, Dr. Jeff Pierce from Michigan Sports and Spine joins Woodward Sports Network for the Injury Insider Report. Big D Energy Tuesdays at noon, and Ermanni and Edwards with Maz Thursdays at 3:30. Get expert analysis and in-depth breakdowns on the latest sports injuries from the man trusted by top athletes in the community, like D-Mac. Whether it's the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, or Red Wings, Dr. Pierce talks us through it all. Don't miss the Injury Insider Report with Dr. Jeff Pierce, your go-to source for understanding the impact of injuries on the games and players we love. Only on Woodward Sports Network. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to MichiganSportsandSpine.com to see if Dr. Jeff Pierce can help you.
Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer, is kicking off the game with the best prices on all cars, trucks, and SUVs, like this 2024 Silverado for just $296 a month, or this 2025 Equinox for as low as $371 a month. Our locations in Novi, Highland, New Hudson, Livonia, and Lansing means we have the perfect Chevy right in your backyard. Get the home team advantage every day at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Detroit has the best sports fans in the world. That's why they deserve the best sports coverage in the world. We are the Woodward Sports Network.
At Lady Jane's, we take the chore of getting a haircut. Our talented stylist will deliver an industry-leading haircut, a relaxing scalp massage. I know sometimes you guys see this when we got the camera on the mask chair. You know, one of my favorites, that hot lather neck shave and a hot towel treatment.
Towel placement varies.
Hey, no Justin Tucker over here, all right? Open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome. And we are back. It is Wake Up Woodward. Thank you guys for choosing to kick off today with the WUW Crew. And you know what? We got to satisfy that like button. I don't even know what beat's about to pop up, so we're going to match the energy of the beat. So if it's aggressive, we got to be aggressive with it, man. If it's a slow beat, we got to satisfy it a little bit more.
I'm going to see if this works.
Hit that like button.
All right.
Oh, you talking about the OG?
Let's see if this
We'll
works.
see. If not,
hey, we back, and listen, man, I know y'all back, so go ahead and hit that like button for us, man. We appreciate it. And if the thought of Myles Garrett gets you wet and tingly inside, just go ahead and express that by hitting that like button. We appreciate you.
Hey, you know what, KG, while the camera was just on you, and great job with that. The Quiet Storm, it is back. Shout out to JB Smooth as well in the TD booth. But just your initial reaction on this thing, man. How much is too much? How much is all in? I know we're going to break it down, but just the Myles Garrett stuff, I know we wanted to get your comments on it, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question of the day. Will Brad Holmes, will he or won't he? And the Lions have never been in this position before Do I think Brad Holmes would make a move like this? Absolutely, but I also know my GM, and I know that there is a line. There is a line that he will not cross. So would he give up multiple firsts? I do believe that he would do that, especially considering the fact that you are getting some comp picks back in those third-round picks that you got for Aaron Glenn leaving. So if you can add those in, maybe, 2 firsts, a third, maybe a fifth, and if they want a player, I can talk a player, but there's a certain line to which players I'm willing to give up. I understand we want to go all in and get a Myles Garrett, but certain players are not on the table if you're the Lions, and I think Brad Holmes knows that, especially offensively. So, I think he would do something like this, and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. The F them picks model, it does technically work, and you can technically survive that. If you look at what the Rams have been able to do over the last few years, after they won their Super Bowl, I believe they did have one down year, but after that, you look up, they're right back in the playoffs, and they got a young core of players that look very, very promising going into the future. That's what Brad Holmes can do for our Lions. We already know how good he is at drafting, so where he drafts doesn't really matter. And the fact that you have a chance to weaken, not necessarily, you have a chance to strengthen the area of this team, which I deem probably the weakest on your team to this point. So you go out, you get a Myles Garrett, and just imagine Myles Garrett, Hutch, DJ Reader, and Aleem McNeil on the same defensive line.
That's
and
incredible.
Then you got bookends like Zadarius Smith and Josh Pascal as rotational pieces. That's pretty nasty, man. And I think that would be a move that would put the Lions over the top. So I think that you make the call regardless. I think Brad Holmes is on the phone. I think he knows, he has an inside track as to what it would take to get a Myles Garrett because he traded for Zadarius Smith. And, whether or not he does it is one thing or another. But I think it's definitely something he's considering right now. You have
definitely.
to.
And he's handled trades masterfully. I'm not worried about Brad Holmes and trades. You look at his record, his track record right now, and especially with the Lions, and it's something that I'm very comfortable as we enter kind of the speculation season. In the Detroit Lions, for me, when you look at what the Rams did to go all in to try and win a Super Bowl, they didn't have enough before they went all in. When they were faced with this and they got Stafford, they still had to go out and do more. These Detroit Lions is currently constructed. I'm stoked, not scared. I believe that they are Super Bowl contenders. I say that proudly, loudly, and with my chest, put that on wax. So they uniquely have an opportunity, though, because they have a complement of picks. Think about it. All their assets are in good health. From their cap sheet, from their future outlook on assets, they have the ability to do what the Rams did, but actually go all in, starting already as a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. And that's where I'm just like, I trust Brad Holmes. He set himself up massively. And that's why I'm just like, just do it. I'm to the point that's like, whatever picks it takes, give them the picks. Obviously, if they start talking specific players, that's where I would push back a little bit. But understanding what this could mean, you guys have spelled it out, what this could mean for this defensive line and its depth and its rotations. And then bringing back players like Malcolm Rodriguez, I know linebacker, but they're able to utilize him as well in pass rush downs and such. I'm just like, yo, they get so even more nasty. And I don't even know how that's possible. You already had the league crying. You already had the league crying about your level of aggression, your level of physicality, your level of play to the whistle, of your level of, hey, bro, if you don't run out of bounds, we're smacking you. And now you get a chance to add a Myles Garrett to that. I just make that happen. And Flan, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm at the point where what the Rams did to go all in and they were star-studded, if the Lions could do that, do that.
Hey, and if Myles Garrett gets brought to the Detroit Lions, there are going to be a lot of quarterbacks crying. And you know what? I can't even blame him at that point. I'm not even going to talk any shit if you got to go up. Like, if Jordan Love cries after a game, I'm not even going to say shit because you're going up against Myles Garrett 8. But anywho, that's beside the point. With this team, one thing we've learned about the Lions in the last couple of years is that they've stayed the course. They've drafted, developed, and re-signed. And they've gotten to a point where going into both of these last two playoffs, they've been like somebody who wasn't the favorite in the NFC, but certainly somebody who you thought could win a couple of games in 2023. But in 2024, they were the Super Bowl favorite, even going into the playoffs despite all of the injuries. But both of those times, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Like, think about this. And I don't want to get you guys depressed. I just want to really hammer home how hard it is to make a Super Bowl and win. In 2023, they had a 17-point lead at halftime in the NFC Championship game. In 2024, they had a 15-2 record and the number 1 seed. neither of those years they even made the Super Bowl for a variety of different reasons. And if you want to talk about injuries costing the Lions their ceiling in 2024, I will agree with that, even though there's no excuse losing to the Commanders, so don't put that on me saying that. But 2024, I believe injuries did cost them their ceiling in a lot of ways. Adding a Myles Garrett actually also gives you some insurance just in case there are major injuries. Once you lost Aiden Hutchinson, the Lions, they were able to tread water and play well defensively, but as you continue to lose guys like Aleem McNeil and Carlton Davis, the writing in a lot of ways was always on the wall. So if you continue to add players, if you add a Myles Garrett, if you had a Myles Garrett and an Aiden Hutchinson and a Zadarius Smith who would all be signed, if one of them goes down, it's not the end of the world. And I like that aspect of it as well. And when you look at this Lions team, when you look at how they're set up moving forward, Goff, St. Brown, Panay, Aleem, Decker, and Monty are all signed long-term, all signed till at least 2027, at least through 2027. And then you've got Jahmyr Gibbs with a potential fifth-year option 2027, Jack Campbell with a potential fifth-year option 2027. Whether the Lions will extend him or not can afford to, that's another conversation for another day. And then you got Ragnow through 2026. J-Mo's fifth-year option would be 2026. Aiden Hutchinson, I'm pretty sure, is going to end up getting extended. Like, no matter what, under no circumstances will he not be as long as he comes back healthy. Laporta 2020 is under contract through 2026. Brian Branch 2026. That's a lot of great players. And if you bring in Myles Garrett, you add him to that list. And I think that automatically makes the Detroit Lions prohibitive Super Bowl favorites for the next 2 years, barring injury, of course. And all of these contracts are already accounted for when it comes to the cap. So you don't have to worry about anything. Don't get me wrong. You might, if you bring in Myles Garrett, do you let Carlton Davis walk? Maybe. Do you let Levi and Barnes walk? Maybe. Zeitler? Maybe. I would do it.
Myles Garrett makes up for a lot of those deficiencies, though. The faster you can get to the quarterback, the better your defense. Flat out.
And the better, what is the normal tandem, the better that secondary is. And they did what? They made a lot of contributions to that secondary. You still have Ennis Rakestraw. You do have Terry Arnold who's going to take a step forward. And you still have capital. They're not going to be void of draft capital or the ability to still go out in free agency and try and make something happen.
No, absolutely. And if I'm Brad Holmes, okay, if you want that extension, I'll give it to you. But you have to play out these last 2 years on your contract. We can't just rip up the contract and start new. I think that's the only real condition, but the fact that he's under contract for 2 years already coming into it, and it's a manageable cap hit. It's not nothing that's going to kill you in the long term. I think the Lions can maneuver this beautifully, man, if they were to actually make a move like that.
They can, and I look forward to players like in the future seeing like the guys who just got the bag. I do think that those are guys who are willing to restructure if it means keeping a piece or two that you believe is vital to your Super Bowl success. That's what's so awesome about when we talk about the ripple effects that Brad Holmes has continued to have on his team. You take care of them early. You give them the bag. You reset the market with these players. And you know what? Why wouldn't they, if you have a chance to win a Super Bowl, restructure it? Because they're still in the prime of their careers. They're not in a situation that Myles Garrett is in right now. They're in a situation where if all goes well, guys like Panay Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just got the bag, they're going to have a couple more contracts to go. And so they're really in a really good position, both how this team, like the players, feel about their Super Bowl and how Brad Holmes has put them in a position to where they can do what they need to do to be able to really push this thing into hyperdrive. And, I see Roderick Turner here in the chat. He says he would like to see a different philosophy. He would like to see Detroit go after a guy like Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati Bengals. He has 1 year left on the contract, and Cincinnati is known for being cheap. He'll be cheaper than Garrett. And my thing is, as currently constructed, I believe they're a Super Bowl team. So, Super Bowl, they can get to the Super Bowl. But Myles Garrett, in my opinion, just makes you that. When I think of Trey Hendrickson, I believe he would bring something, but as currently constructed with like a Zadarius Smith here and how this line already is, that's what I'm like, do you go out of the way to bring in a Hendrickson? Is that the person worth parting with some capital that could help you through the draft? Or is Myles Garrett one of those guys that you're like, you know what, he's worth it?
Well, it's not really about the player, Trey Hendrickson versus Myles Garrett, because Trey Hendrickson would absolutely also make this team a Super Bowl favorite prohibitive
but
next year.
He's not Myles Garrett. I'm sorry.
He's not Myles Garrett.
He's not Myles.
And
he's great. He's not Myles Garrett.
Yes, and he's not actively asking for a trade, putting out posts actively saying, I am seeking a trade.
Right.
That's the big difference. That's the only reason we're talking about Myles Garrett right now.
Trey Hendrickson's a free agent.
Oh, there you go.
Is he? Oh.
Oh, he is?
Oh.
Yeah, he only signed a 1-year deal last year.
Oh.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Ooh.
there we go.
That creates some
Brad, you got some
intrigue, man.
decisions.
Yeah, that creates some intrigue. That's what we say. It's speculation season. We know that, and we know the trends. We know the ways that Brad Holmes has thought, but largely none of us know what he's going to do. And that's why you're right. When the news broke and the trends broke and the sporting books started breaking, what name popped to the top? What name started to be one of those ones that was kind of flirted about? One of those names is the Lions. So, you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how Brad approaches this thing. It's going to be very interesting. So
Yeah, and of course, there might be some players down the road that if you get a Myles Garrett, you might not be able to re-sign. KG?
Yeah, and just to respond to something Mike Bell said in the chat, young, impactful DN talent can be found in the draft is all I'm saying. And you are correct. But the Lions don't have a year or 2 years or 3 years to sit up here and be trying to develop an edge rusher. When you have somebody like a Myles Garrett that is in their prime right now and has been a double-digit sack guy his whole career, I repeat, his whole entire career, he's been a double-digit sack guy. You add that to Aiden Hutchinson, who we believe is arguably the best defensive player in the NFL right next to a Myles Garrett. That's something different, man. That's you taking a real leap at this thing, pushing all your chips into the table. And with the Lions this year, after this year, it gets really murky as to whether how long your window is or not. So I think this is the year that if you want to push your chips into the middle of the table, why not, man? You were in the NFC Championship 2 years ago. You got bounced out of the divisional round this year. This window is open, but we need to take advantage of it, and this is a move that can do that.
Hey, because doesn't the last 2 years make you feel more like, let's take that shot?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like a certain security. Because I do trust everything this organization is doing, and I'll trust whichever way they go. But that's exactly where I'm at. That's why I'm like, listen, I'm willing to just, hey, how many picks are you gonna need to get this thing done? Yes, I trust Brad Holmes in the draft, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about giving this team something right now that everybody, not just us, you already know what the NFL world would say. The NFL world would say, who's beating the Detroit Lions? Who's going to be able to block this defensive line? That's what the NFL world is going to say. And you said it earlier, KG, that defensive line getting home and putting even more pressure is going to make the whole rest of this defense better, even if you lose a player or two from that defense.
And honestly, look at this team. What is the missing piece? What is the weakness?
They got to get home. That's what everybody
would
saying.
be the weakness.
Yeah, and Wheezy D313 is definitely not on the Myles Garrett train. He's given examples of guys who were drafted and developed for like for the Chiefs, George Karlaftis, and like for the Bills, Gregory Rousseau.
But the Lions have done that.
And here's the thing. Aiden Hutchinson, we know when he's healthy is probably going to be a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Besides him, what young defensive end do we have on this team that we think is going to turn into George Karlaftis? I don't think anybody. I like Josh Paschal for what he is. He is never going to be Greg Rousseau or Josh Paschal. It just is what it is. And we're talking about a team that's in the Super Bowl window. What 28th overall pick defensive end, what are they really going to do in year one? I mean, maybe they might be all right, but the Lions don't really necessarily have that kind of time. We all know that the Lions, if they are perfectly healthy, even if they don't get Myles Garrett, they're still one of the Super Bowl favorites. It's just that too many things can happen. Getting to a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl is just so freaking hard. And that's why I think what's happened the last couple of years has made me want to go out and for Brad Holmes to acquire a Myles Garrett even more, because guys like Myles Garrett don't come up on the trade block they don't grow on trees on trade blocks. I'll just say that.
They don't. And I thought Ermanni had a great point yesterday when he said it's not just the fact that you're bringing in Myles Garrett, you're also keeping him away from a competitor. And you got to think about that too if you're the Lions, man. You can't let him go to a Washington, to a Green Bay, to a Minnesota, to a Chicago.
Yes.
Like, come on, what are we doing?
Because what was the news we saw yesterday of Saquon talking about he considered the Chicago Bears?
Yeah.
It's like, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And I get that whole point too. It is strategic plays here. And this is one where it's with the Myles Garrett. I do believe that a guy like Trey Hendrickson would help the Detroit Lions towards a Super Bowl effort. But I believe that Myles Garrett is that piece that all things stay healthy, or the majority. He's that piece where you can feel pretty comfortable about booking those tickets for the Super Bowl.
Yes,
I am.
And just to remind everybody before we move on, through 2026, you've got Goff under contract, Amon-Ra, Panay, Aleem, Decker, Monty, Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Ragnow, Laporta, Branch, and then the potential fifth-year option for J-Mo and the fifth-year option for Hutch. We assume he gets this extended. And you add Myles Garrett to that. That is a 2-year window of the best roster in the NFL. And then if they win a Super Bowl, it's 100% worth it. I mean, who cares what happens after that? But even if they don't, those are the type of things that we trust Brad Holmes to be able to mitigate in terms of who to keep, who to re-sign. We'll just have to see.
And Mike Bell didn't mean to take you out of.
I think we should open it up, man. People got so much to say. What do you think?
Yes.
Let's rock, man.
Mike Bell, I ain't mean to take you out of context. My bad, Brody.
Hey, you know what? Let's throw that phone number out there. We'll say what up, though, to some friends, and we want to hear from you all. 313-552-6322. Once again, that number, we will get that into the chat as well. 313-552-6322. Call in, say it with your chest, man. It's a Feldman, communication lines here at WSN. I look forward to being able to either agree, disagree, banter, back and forth, or Flannel Sam absolutely ripping your opinion to shreds, man. Call in, say it with your chest, because there's too much that I'm seeing in the chat. And I'm like, y'all have to, if you got something to say, call on in, man. So I look forward to this. Myles Garrett, if there's a different option, if there's a better option, if you're for the all-in, no matter how many picks it takes, we want to hear from you guys. So, also, attention sports fans. Don't miss out on expert sports injury insights with Dr. Jeff Pierce from Michigan Sports and Spine. Join Dr. Pierce every Tuesday during Big D Energy and every Thursday during Ermanni and Edwards, where he's offering top-notch injury advice. You got to trust the guy that DMAC trusts. Because Dr. Jeff Pierce is here to keep you in the game and performing at your best. For more information, visit MichiganSportsAndSpine.com or call 248-426-9944.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
WoodwardSports.com and click on Shop. Get the latest in Detroit sports apparel and exclusive Woodward Sports gear. WoodwardSports.com can get the whole team outfitted. Love the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers? We got something for you, too. Shop online at WoodwardSports.com.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage, hot leather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. Step up your game this season and take advantage of our $20 haircut special. Scan the QR code and get your coupon today. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, the ultimate haircut experience. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins always welcome. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
The big game requires a big party, and Woodward Sports is back at it again with our live watch party at Hayes Social. Come watch the game with the crew on 3 17-foot screens. Book your table today before they are all gone. Call 586-247-2223. You got great food, drink specials, and the best big game party around. That's Hayes Social at 21 Mile Road and Hayes in Shelby Township. Brought to you in part by 1800 Tequila, Sabbath Coffee, Soroki's Crispy Chicken and Pizza, and of course, New Holland Brewing Company. See you there.
See you there. Hey, it's Wake Up Woodward. It's your boy Brandon Day, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, your credential Pistons reporter and writer for the network. We got Flannel Sam over here, Red Wings correspondent, all sports knower. Shout out to our brother Matthew Brothers, that dude Justin. We got Kavasi Chase in the building holding it down. In the sound booth, Detroit's number 1 draft pick, that is KG, aka Black Hollywood Rookie of the Year, going for MVP. And in the TD booth, more appropriately, it's a Tuesday. So in the TD booth is JB Smooth, Woodward Sports is MVP. What up, though, brother?
Oh, what's going on, y'all?
Hey, chilling, man. I just haven't heard from you a lot today. So I was like, man, just what up, though, JB
Yeah,
Smooth?
no doubt. Also, we got to throw out some credit for a super chat that we got in a little bit early. Sorry we couldn't get to it. But shout out Shane Daniels for this one as well, too. This one is directed towards KG. He said, shout out KG for the kind words to me during BDE trade scenario segment yesterday. I was having a rough day and needed it more than you realize. So I'm not too sure what you said, man. But, I mean, shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Shane Daniel, bro. You know, I look out for the squad, man. I love all our members of the chat, even the ones that, you know, ain't too bright. But Shane, you one of the good ones, bro. You know I rock with you.
Hey, you know what? And that's what it's all about when we say it's truly a family. The support that we get from the chat family and the support that we try to give to you all, whether we agree or not, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. As long as we stay in between the lines, you know, in between the ring, right? Shout out Woodward ringside. When we are duking it out, that's fine. No hits below the belts, nothing outside the ring, and everything is A-okay, even if we disagree. And I hear we got some people,
I'm trying
to... KG's, yeah. All right, yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. But I know that there's a lot of people that have a lot to say about this, man. I'm seeing people who... It seems like if you're open to trading for Myles Garrett, it seems like it opens up everybody else's mindset to... Well, no, we should go trade for this person or trade for that person or this. And naturally, that's where the conversation is going to go when you're asking what we should do going forward. But it was interesting because before this, it seemed like a lot of people were content with realistically just looking forward to the draft. And now you have people saying, you know what? Well, no, they're dusting off what we were saying at the trade deadline, what a lot of people were saying. Well, I think we should go after this player. I think we should go after that player. For me, I believe that Myles Garrett represents what the Rams did to go all in for their Super Bowl. And that is the player that I would definitely do that for, despite there being a couple players out there that I think could help us if they decided to target them. Might be a little bit cheaper as well, but Myles Garrett is one to me that represents just short of a guarantee.
I mean, it's the fact that Myles Garrett is asking for a trade out of Cleveland. And why wouldn't he, by the way? Cleveland is an absolute tire fire. They've been to the playoffs, dumpster fire, tire fire, grease fire, whatever kind of fire. And that's really why we're even having this conversation. We're having this conversation because he would help the Lions win. He would help the Lions win is an understatement, but that's still very true. He'd help the Lions win. He wants out, and he's not even that expensive. I mean, at least for these next couple of years, the extension that he's going to have to sign, that is going to be biblical, as he should, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm glad that you mentioned, KG, what you said about what Ryan Ermanni mentioned about other teams not getting him in the NFC, because I don't believe that the Cleveland Browns would trade Myles Garrett within the AFC. Maybe I'm wrong. The Browns have shown at times to be an incompetent organization, more than at times. That's kind of where they live right now, but I don't think they would trade within the AFC. I'm looking at teams. I'm just looking at the cap space leaders for 2025. I see a team like the Washington Commanders. Do we want Myles Garrett to go to the Washington Commanders? That would be scary. Like, I honestly think if the Commanders got Myles Garrett, they could challenge the Eagles in the NFC East next year and be one of these Super Bowl favorites. You know who else is in the top 5 of cap space? And we can laugh at them all we want, but the Chicago Bears.
He would change them.
How would you, like, if they got Myles Garrett, I think they'd be in the playoffs next year at minimum. And then you never know what's going to happen with, the Caleb Williams development under Ben Johnson. Who knows? Maybe that works. Maybe Myles Garrett is still a terror and a force for the Bears opposite Montez Sweat joining that already very talented defense. And maybe the Bears all of a sudden become a contender. The Arizona Cardinals have the cap space to do it. The Minnesota Vikings have the cap space to do it. again, we can call the Vikings frauds all we want. We can call Sam Darnold a fraud all we want, and rightfully so, by the way, because we saw what happened when they faced the Lions to win the division and went to the playoffs. But if they get Myles Garrett with Grenard, with Van Ginkel, with that talented defense, with Brian Flores, they would be formidable. The 49ers have the cap space to do it. The Bengals have the cap space to do it. Although the Browns definitely wouldn't trade to Myles Garrett to the Bengals. No chance of that. But do you want to see the 49ers get him? Do you want to see the Green Bay Packers get him? Myles Garrett is that type of player that would shift the entire paradigm of the NFL no matter where he goes. Because in a competent, well-run organization with a good team with playoff and Super Bowl aspirations, Myles Garrett would be maybe the number one non-quarterback in the NFL in terms of changing a team's fortunes.
Yeah, and that's the thing there. He would elevate any of these teams that he went to, and you don't want to see him go to a rival. You don't want to see him go to a team that's standing in your path to a Super Bowl at all. And it's not just one of those guys that you sign him because of that, but it's also because of the elevation that he would bring to your team as well. That's why you go all in for a guy like a Myles Garrett, man. That's why. I know we got a couple people on the phone line right now.
Yeah, we do. We start with my boy Shane Daniel.
Let's go, Shane.
You on Wake Up Woodward? What's going on with you, bro?
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good morning.
Good morning, brother.
Okay, yeah, so this whole Myles Garrett thing, I know I've been seeing in the chat people saying, oh, we'll give him this or that, like small things, but I think you got to go all in. I think Brad Holmes has set up our future already with the drafts. We know how he's going to do in the draft in the late rounds, so why not give up your early round draft picks, like, your first, your second, no matter how many years, just because the window isn't as open as we might think it is, and we got to get this done. Like, I don't care about the draft picks anymore. It's just that we built it up. He's built up enough, like the infrastructure on the team already, that why not just go all in on one guy just to see if that's going to be the thing that puts us over the edge.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. The Lions have built this team through the draft and done it beautifully to where you're re-signing guys that you picked in 2021. You've still got guys who are going to be under contract during the entire length of what Myles Garrett's contract is, which is 2 years. And right now, this is the time to make this type of move because, as you implied, Super Bowl windows, they're not infinite. We think that they are, but cap hits are going to start to get bigger in 2026. I'm looking at you, Jared Goff. No disrespect, by the way. It's just you got to strike while the iron is hot, and I agree with you 100%. This is the time, especially with a guy like Myles Garrett being available in the trade market, to strike while the iron is hot.
One more thing I wanted to bring in as well, because we've already traded with the Browns last season for Zadarius Smith.
Yes.
So we know that window, not the one we're looking for, the one where the opportunity could be there, but we have that relationship with the Browns of trading with them, and maybe this time Brad will be like, hey, you know what, I know I only gave you this for Zadarius. Let me throw in this plus a little bit extra to entice the deal to bring over Myles Garrett, kind of like saying, hey, you did us a solid last year, we'll do you a solid this year.
Hey.
Something else to think about.
I certainly would hope so, but thank you, Shane, for the call. Call back anytime. We appreciate
Thanks, guys.
you.
Love you all.
KG?
Aaron? Hey, what up, though, Aaron?
Hello.
What up, though?
I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like telling me we should trade J-Mo in a first and a couple seconds. And I tell him, what are you thinking? You're crazy? That's a key part of our offense, too. One of our key parts of our offense. What would you trade a key piece for our offense to the Browns, who is not going to do anything?
One of the notions that I've continued to see kicked around, I've seen even other accounts out there. I know Natalie Sparbeck, she also put that out there as well, that if you bring in a Myles Garrett, consider one of these three other players expendable. And J-Mo was one of those guys who he's going to have to get paid eventually. And that's where I think it comes from, where I think that when you see how teams are able to shift around contracts and such, I don't believe they actually have to part with a player to be able to get a Myles Garrett. And so some people, I believe, were trying to jump the gun. Well, if we can't sign him, then why not use him and protect our draft capital? We can sign draft a wide receiver or whatnot. And so that's kind of some of the stuff I've seen kicked around social media. For me personally, I don't believe that that's necessary. And I do believe the Lions, and you look at their cap situation, you look at the types of people they have, I do really look forward to seeing what they do with the restructuring of contracts from their star players who have the opportunity to say, you know what, yeah, let's go get that. Let's go all in for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, I don't think Jameson Williams is somebody that the Lions should trade necessarily, especially because, as Chuck Brewer said, Cleveland doesn't want players' contracts. They want to reduce spending, and that is absolutely right. They're going to have a $36 million dead cap by trading Myles Garrett, and you know what they have with Deshaun Watson.
So they might not even want to give J-Mo the bag.
Well, they're effed. They need to supercharge their rebuild, and that's what the Lions can provide them with draft picks. But I will say this about Jameson Williams, because I know it got very spicy on Big D Energy, as it always does when J-Mo is brought up. The Lions should not trade J-Mo. However, is he somebody that you don't re-sign long term? That's somebody who you have to have in the discussions if you get a Myles Garrett. And time will tell on that.
Right.
He may prove to be so valuable that you have to re-sign him, but you definitely don't trade a Jameson Williams who's making $5 million this next year, and you can give him a fifth-year option in 2026.
And if you can get this thing done with just draft picks, then you give yourself the ability to make whatever decision you make. What we see with some teams, they pull the plug early. I don't think that the Lions are in a position where they have to do that. As currently constructed, Super Bowl contenders, and if you bring in a Myles Garrett, you get the opportunity to decide, well, let's see what J-Mo does. Because if he proves to be what the trends are looking like, and he's this big play receiver where you're hearing other defenses say, yeah, we have to account for him now. That to me is it's a weapon, and I'm in agreement completely with you. You wait this thing out and you see what you got with a J-Mo.
Yep. Thank you for the call.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. And before we get to another one, I have to read a $20 super chat from Sergeant Curtis Schultz, Star Wars. I don't think I've seen you before, but shout out.
Shout out, man.
Get some coffee and donuts, guys. Shout out Fowlerville and Aliens and Tigers, Wings, and Pistons. Let's go. Thank you so much.
Shout out, Sergeant. Salute.
And for the record, the reason that I brought up the Bears and Myles Garrett was not because I think that would be the best option for him. Obviously, I don't think that. With the Bears, you just never know. It's the fact that they have the cap space to do it, and I think they fancy themselves as potential contenders if they get a Myles Garrett. And I think if they do, they make the playoffs. Even though they're the Bears, Myles Garrett is just that good, and you put him on that defense opposite from Montez Sweat, who's better off as a number 2 anyway. You don't want the Bears to get Myles Garrett. I'll just say that because even if the Bears aren't contending for the division, they're still going to make life potentially hell for a Jared Goff maybe once or twice a year and give them the Lions an L that the Lions otherwise might not have if the Bears didn't have Myles Garrett.
It was nice sweeping the NFC North this season, and you know what? You want to make sure that you give yourself every single opportunity to do that because it was nice knowing that this team they held destiny in their own hands based on how they had already beaten a lot of these teams the first go around. Then the second go around, you already have a leg up, and they're having to respond to you almost like a boxer who has the forehand and the forefoot. And that's where you want to be able to keep that even in your moves, not just on the field, but is your organization going to be one as well that's making teams respond to what you do? And that's what we've seen out of these Detroit Lions. They haven't just waited back to see. I believe that Brad Holmes, and you see him do what he did to trade for Jack Campbell and a Jahmyr Gibbs the way he did, they expected those people to step in and to be the players that they were going to be from day one. And that, to me, is where I'm confident in. And I know that there's a lot of people, this whole context between, you know what, the perspective of, look what he has done through the draft. Are you willing to give that up? For me, this context is always going to be Super Bowl window. The next 2 years, that's what Myles Garrett is able to provide you, man. I can't. Like I'm telling you, this is going to be absolutely electric if Myles Garrett is a member of the Detroit Lions.
Well, and also we have to keep in mind, and I know we talked about this earlier about the Los Angeles Rams, how they went all in with F them picks, and they didn't have first rounders for multiple years. But what they've been able to do in the last couple of years is to build up their roster primarily through non-first-round draft picks. They drafted Puka Nacua. They've drafted their entire defensive line with Fisk and Jared Verse and Byron Young and Kobe Turner. And obviously, Les Snead is a fantastic GM. But as a drafter, do we think that Brad Holmes is on Les Snead's level?
Yeah, maybe even better.
I'm just saying, like, there's no guarantees. The heater that Les Snead is on is all-time, and it is biblical. But Brad Holmes has been on some heaters when it comes to late-round draft picks as well. Hello, Amon-Ra. Hello, Kirby. Hello, Aleem, etc., etc.
But that's the thing. Those are your constants. Les Snead and Sean McVay. As long as we got Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they can have this team in a position to win every single year, man. When you get opportunities like this, man, you don't want to miss the boat or let them go to a competitor is what we were trying to say. So do we have time to take one more?
Yes.
All right, we got the homie Cortez on the line. Cortez, you on Wake Up Woodward. What up, though?
What up, though? Good morning. Thank you for calling, bro.
What up, though? WUW Crew, what up, though?
Yeah, what's good with you?
Hey, man, I'm going to make a couple comments, man. This is no knock on Brad. We love Brad. Hindsight is a mother. We know that.
Right.
There's a couple scenarios, man. Like, when Gibbs got drafted, man, we're in this position. This is why we're in this position. When Gibbs got drafted, we were all shocked. What the hell? We were all shocked. Because Jalen Carter was right there. Off field, whatever he had going on, I think that pushed him away from us. But that was the pick. That was the pick, Jalen Carter, and we could have got a divine A-chain later on to do what Gibbs probably doing. We'll never know. We love Gibbs. The following year, we get 2 cornerbacks. Like, we could have not got Rakestraw, man. We really could have just addressed the defensive line with that pick there. And I believe we're in this position. We love Brad Holmes. I think we're in this position because of stubbornness, man. When I say that, because we missed on 2 second-round defensive linemen. What's his name? Starts with a P. The guy from Kentucky. We missed with him, and then we missed with Alzarique. Yeah, Pasco and Alzarique. We missed with them 2 guys. There are high second-round picks, man. And Brad Holmes, I know he saw what we saw, but he believed in his picks so much. Like, these guys are going to work. These guys are going to work. He never addressed the offense. He never addressed the defensive line again until Broderick Martin and a Wingo. He never got a young cat in here besides Hudson. McNeil hit. Ozrike didn't, and the Kentucky guy didn't. So this is why we're in this position. So now we're back to the defensive line again. When he went so high when he first got here, McNeil, Ozrike, he started off. Them are his 2 picks. He lived and died with them guys. Then the Kentucky guy, he lived and died with them guys. He never addressed the line again as far as a number 2 pick or a number 3 pick. So we're in this position because of that, but hindsight is a mother. But we'll fix it.
Cortez,
love you guys.
Yeah, thank you,
Cortez.
And I understand the sentiment, but sometimes I feel like Brad Holmes gets trapped into the world of he's only a draft guy. I think that what he did is he gave the draft picks an opportunity to grow with this team as they grow. You know what I'm saying? But their success became so much more, and they got it faster than even we expected. And then what do we see Brad Holmes do? Did he not shift his approach? And this is another vote. If you're voting Myles Garrett or draft picks, this is why I'm kind of for Myles Garrett. You can take a swing at guys that have good trajectories on that defensive line, and you know what? It's not as serviceable as like taking a swing with a Terrion Arnold at the cornerback position. And then what did he do? He went and he did address that defensive line. So if the draft picks have not panned out to the way that you've wanted it to, because you're not going to bat 100%, can you go out in free agency and make it happen? And what did we see him do? He did. DJ Reader, Zadarius Smith through a trade. So both through free agency and in the trade market, we saw him go and address this line. And to the point that health was something that really caught up with him. I like Aleem McNeil. You're not going to bat 100, but if you're telling me that even the defensive line as is without Myles Garrett doesn't impress you at all, I don't know what to tell you, but I feel like that is Brad Holmes addressing it.
And here's what I'll say in response to you, Cortez, because I get it. You see what Jalen Carter is doing with the Eagles in the playoffs right now, in the regular season.
Braylon ain't going to never let that die. He
Well, yeah,
bring
right.
that up every chance he gets.
And he's a phenomenal player, going to be probably one of the best D tackles in the league for years to come. But I'm not going to opine over Jalen Carter when we got a guy who can be the best running back in the game instead. I'm not going to be mad at that, even though I respect the hell out of Jalen Carter as a player. My main response, though, is I don't think Brad Holmes has necessarily failed at building up the defensive line. I don't think Pascal was necessarily a miss, although you might expect more from a second-round pick. I don't think Levi was necessarily a miss. He just got hurt. And with Mekhi Wingo, you never know. Aleem was obviously a hit. It's not about what Brad Holmes failed to do. It's about the fact that players like Myles Garrett do not become available by trade every year. It just doesn't happen. This is a golden opportunity for any team, and I'll just use the Lions as an example, to make this roster the undisputed best roster in the NFL, the best offense in the NFL, and the best defense in the NFL, because next season, I'm just going to isolate it to next season, you're basically adding Myles Garrett to the roster as currently constructed. You might just have to let Carlton Davis walk, Zeitler, Levi, Barnes. I would take that trade. I will just say that. And for the next year, I already mentioned all the players that are going to be under contract through 2026. It is going to be the best roster in the NFL, in my opinion, for 2026 as well. It's not about what Brad Holmes hasn't done. It's about the impact that Myles Garrett can make on a Super Bowl contender.
Yep, and I want to know that my GM, who I already go in knowing no one's going to bat 100%, even the best ones ever, who are you when it's making up for those mistakes? Who are you when things don't pan out necessarily the way that you have wanted? If I know that you're going to take a whole bunch of swings and you're going to walk away, obviously with an easy one in Aiden Hutchinson, which there were some people who deliberated about that, and some people even after he was here who still questioned who he could be. I think that those questions are put to rest. But when you see what he's been able to do just from the get-go and where this defensive line is right now, to the point that if you add Myles Garrett to this line, it's like literally putting fuel on a fire. That to me shows exactly who Brad Holmes is. If you're not going to bat 100, can you go and clean up? He's the home run hitter. He's the 3 and the 4 hitter. And that's what's awesome about Brad Holmes. He's not a guy that's just good at one thing. Oh, he can draft well, but he can't this. We heard about Troy Weaver. Think about Troy Weaver. Everyone continues to say, yeah, he got some good players in here. Kay Cunningham is looking good. We like Jaden Ivey. We like Jalen Duren. But he could never find a way to either, one, make up for the mistakes, the misses. Like, you miss out on killing. You got to do something to make up for that. And they never really did that with outside of that point in terms of putting the players around them. And then the vets that you put around this squad. Brad Holmes has proven to be able to do that. If he strikes out here, he's going to hit here. If he strikes out as it relates to free agency, we've seen him go and hit in the draft. And that's where I'm very, very comfortable with his approach to this thing. If he decides to take a chance on a Pascal, think about what we're talking about right now. He took us with a second-round pick. You take a chance on him. But if you lose a Pascal, is that any detriment to what your defensive line is now? If not, then that's a testament.
No, it's not.
That's what I'm saying. Then it's actually a testament to Brad Holmes not resting on his laurels. How many GMs did we see rest on their laurels with players? And we're like, bro, it's not working. And they weren't listening. Brad Holmes and his team has made changes when they've had to, or gone and augmented when they've had to augment.
Yep, and a shout out to Jahmyr Gibbs as well, because and Cortez, I know you weren't hating on Jahmyr Gibbs. You're just more pro Jalen Carter and pro this defensive line.
He's a Carter bro. Jalen, bro.
Right. Yeah. Actually, he definitely is. By my definition of like the bro terms. And I will say this about Jahmyr Gibbs, because he had mentioned, Cortez, something that I actually agreed with after the 2023 season. If you would have told me after the 2023 season that you could have gotten Jalen Carter and then later on in the draft gotten Devon Achane, I would have been like, great, that would have been the better option. But what Jahmyr Gibbs did this season, the growth that he showed, becoming, in my opinion, the third best running back in the NFL after only veterans who had all-time years in Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, that's a testament to Jahmyr Gibbs and that he was always the right pick no matter what. Even though we all have eyes, we see what Jalen Carter is doing, it was always Jahmyr Gibbs.
And y'all keep talking about home run hitters. Home run hitters do not grow on trees.
No, they
and
don't.
You have that in a Jamison Williams and a Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep.
Two people that can flip a game at a moment's notice.
And they're under contract for the duration of Myles Garrett being under contract right now. And before we go to break, a couple of super chats. We got one from Rando Smalls. Could we not just trade up in the first round and say get a verse? Would he not be a better way to go? I mean, that's certainly an option. Like don't get me wrong, Chase.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, getting Myles Garrett, he is arguably like the peak of defensive performers in the NFL.
Yeah.
And with Aiden Hutchinson's rise, you could essentially be looking at, on one end of the defensive line, Mount Everest, and then on the other side of it, K2, the 2 highest peaks of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
And then you have like
Chase GPT.
Every morning he own
with
it.
then you got your other high peaks, with like DJ Reader, Ali McNeil coming back, Zadarius Smith, as there's other mountains in between to just wreak havoc, and that's not something you can get very often, and it's going to take time for that Jared Verse or that rookie, whoever you draft, to make that climb. Aiden Hutchinson's climbing back from health too, so I mean it's like I'd rather have Myles Garrett.
Yeah, and I see Detroit Arrow in the chat, and he has his Chippewas logo on the Central Michigan logo. Detroit Arrow in the chat. He says okay, but a verse, a Jared Verse doesn't grow on trees either. And I think that if you're building your team, like if this is 2 years ago, you probably take that approach. But with it being right now, you're talking about capitalizing on a Super Bowl in which you thought the last 2 seasons you should have gone. That's where Myles Garrett, like you said, is ready to go right now. It's just push the start. I mean, if you've ever been in an electric car and you press that pedal, you're already at 20 miles an hour instantly. That's what Myles Garrett is. I believe in players like Jared Verse, but is he hitting the ground running day one to give you elite, top-level defensive play from the defensive unit? Just defensive player
I would say
general.
that he hit the ground running and was an elite rookie.
Yeah.
That's fair. But, obviously
but a
not Myles
rookie,
Garrett.
we're talking.
I'm talking about at Myles Garrett's
We're talking
level,
a rookie versus a all-pro, ready-to-go, future Hall of Fame defensive end that is still very much in his prime.
Yes, and
it's not the same.
And for the record, Rando, I'm not going to kill you for that, because if the Myles Garrett option wasn't available, I don't hate this at all, because in a theoretical world, Verse opposite Aiden Hutchinson would be filthy as well. I think that to me, along with the guys like Aleem and Zadarius and DJ Reader, that is also a Super Bowl winning defensive line. It's about the fact that Myles Garrett wants out of Cleveland. If he didn't want out of Cleveland, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And also Dante151 with the Neil Rule profile picture. I love that. $4.99 super chat. People also need to remember Brad Holmes said at his presser, it was hard trying to trade for a defensive end this season before the trade deadline. And I think one of the reasons it was so hard for Brad Holmes, especially when it comes to Zadarius Smith, is I think that the Lions fleeced the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, they did.
I think it would have been easier if he would have accepted a worse deal. So shout out to Brad Holmes for getting the right deal. And defensive ends are a high commodity in the NFL. It's going to be difficult.
And teams out there knew that the Lions were trying to keep their Super Bowl aspirations, and that they needed another defensive end. And then they had a couple others on the defensive line hobbled, Davenport and Aiden Hutchinson. They knew this already going in. So where are your negotiations starting? Now you're looking at a Detroit Lions team who, yes, Myles Garrett is gas on the fire, but you're not in the same position that you were when you were a little bit more desperate for defensive line help. Now you're in an even better position. And so if Brad Holmes was able to, as Flannel said, effectively fleece and to get Zadarius Smith, I think that they're in an even better position to be able to acquire a Myles Garrett.
2 first-rounders, and I would throw in the Aaron Glenn compensatory pick as well. That's if need be, because I think that would probably get it done. But we shall see. The bidding war for Myles Garrett is going to be front page news in NFL media for probably, I'm not going to predict the time frame, but for the duration of this whole situation, because there's one other option. What if the Cleveland Browns are like, we're not trading you? We'll see. That
is true.
Nah, they desperate.
We'll be here. We could be here a while. I agree with you, KG.
Yeah,
they eventually will.
Handcuffed.
But we could be here for a while. But do you know where else you could be for a while?
Let me know.
Jars.
Hey.
You definitely can be at Jars for a while, especially for all skiers and snowboarders. Get ready to send it on a 14-foot drop-in ramp with 3 custom features at the brand new Jars Utica location parking lot. On Saturday, February 22nd from 1 to 5 p.m., jam-style competition judged by 3 guest pros. $8,000 in cash prizes are up for grabs. Are you in? Register at jarscannabis.com/JarsRailJam to sign up. Open to skiers and snowboarders. You have to be 21 or older. Limited to 50 participants. Lock in your spot today. Also, DMAC and Stick will be doing a special broadcast from 2 to 4 p.m. that day as well too. All spectators are welcome to come. The event is free to attend, and there is free food with any Jars Cannabis purchase as well too. Live DJs, giveaways, drop in, cash out. And question for you guys, can I say get railed without it meaning something weird?
No.
Oh, well, anyway. Rail Jam at Jars.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
WoodwardSports.com and click on Shop. Get the latest in Detroit sports apparel and exclusive Woodward Sports gear. WoodwardSports.com can get the whole team outfitted. Love the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers? We got something for you, too. Shop online at WoodwardSports.com.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in a clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app online or in club and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
Detroit has the best sports fans in the world. That's why they deserve the best sports coverage in the world. We are the Woodward Sports Network.
New year, new you. How about a new car? Les Stanford Buick GMC is here for you. Get a 2025 Hummer EV SUT for 24 months with 10,000 miles a year. I can always count on you, JB. For only $699 a month, just a $1,999 down payment. Or a 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 Crew Cab, 24 months with 10,000 miles a year for only $359 per month. Sign and drive, no down payment required. GM discount required for both. Get to Les Stanford today or click on the QR code on the screen and check out our massive inventory. Les Stanford Buick and GMC, lesstanford.com. Be a pro, KG.
And you got that new car, so why don't you drive over and celebrate and grab yourself a case of this intergalactic haze.
Don't open it till you get home.
Yeah, don't open it until you get home. I'm talking about that Tangerine Space Machine, the new easy drinking IPA that is out of this world. It's smooth, it's juicy, with refreshing crush abilities. It's the official beer of outer space. Like I said, you don't have to go that far to get it. It's at your local store, brewed by New Holland Brewing Company, straight out of Holland, Michigan, so you always can support locally. Go and grab yourself a case today.
Let's go. And you know what, man? Just to pay a little attention to our chat family, Randall Smalls. Thank you guys for the support. $10 super chat. How many edge rushers this year's draft were considered hits? Usually it is a 50-50 chance.
I mean, if I'm looking at the first round, I would say, we got to go all the way to the mid because the first draft pick was a 15. I'd say Laiatu Latu was not quite what I expected, but he was fine. Dallas Turner didn't really get the snaps or the reps. Jared Verse was an absolute hit. I'd say Chop Robinson was a hit as well.
Yeah.
Darius Robinson was not a hit. He was a little bit banged up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say a little over 50-50. And of course, as the draft goes on, it goes way down.
Yep. And look at what their playoff performances are as well. But Shad 216-499 super chat says Khalil Mack replacing Barnes as a rushing outside linebacker with Garrett and Hutch would be peak.
Oh my god!
I remember his father said, "Hey, you know what, man? Send him to Detroit, man."
See, now that's a little bit unrealistic. But I mean, in a vacuum, who says no?
Right.
That they would get 50 sacks between the three. Teams would score 7 a game.
Right.
We can dream it. You know what,
I'm kind of being funny, but shout out Shad.
I'm still gonna dream about it, man. It's a good thought, man. It's a good thought.
I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Anywho,
you said we got
Tabitha.
Tabby, thanks,
legends.
thanks for being patient with us. And Devin, if you on, call back, bro. We'll get you on for the end of the show. But Tabitha, you're on Wake Up.
Good morning, Woodward.
Good morning.
Good morning, Woodward.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Of course. Woodward Rule. Subscribe to Woodward.
Right.
The chat was really stressing me out. If you were here for the morning part of it, we talked about clutch players. We're talking about a different sport. But at the same time, in the chat, you're like, trade Amon-Ra. That is one of our most clutch players. Amon-Ra stays. That is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Trade Amon-Ra? No. If we can get Myles Garrett, that would be amazing. We all know what he can do. But everyone just needs to have a little faith in Brad Holmes. Look at what he's done since 2021. We have risen from the ashes to have the best season we've ever seen. The players that are in place, the key, the heart of the team, we're not trading that. We can just have faith in Brad Holmes, have faith in Dan, and this is going to be our year. I know we all said it last year, but we have rebuilt this whole thing from the ashes. We are rising. We are going. We're not going to start giving away our clutch players just because everyone wants to request for a trade and teams want to give away players. We're not giving up our core.
You know what she was spitting? She was spitting facts, man. That's heat right there, brother.
Yeah, I mean,
like, we're not giving up our core. You guys, you had me heated. I was all having a lovely morning, wake and bake, drinking my coffee, and then y'all start talking about getting rid of Amon-Ra.
Why Weezy
unmasks himself again. He says, that was me, Tabitha, trade Ra. And I don't understand that.
Of course it's Weezy.
At all, man.
Yeah, me and my hubby-to-be were getting stressed.
Shout out to hubby to be
Even
as
Marcus
well.
was ready to get in the chat.
I don't. Thank you, Tabitha, for the call. And thank you for the continued support.
Yeah,
I'll just
thank
say
you.
this, and I don't want to disrespect WeezyD313 because I value him in the chat, and sometimes we align on some opinions that might be considered out there, but no serious person wants to trade Amon-Ra St. Brown. With respectfully, Weezy, because I know you're serious, but that's just, it doesn't even fit what the Browns want to do. Like, what is Amon-Ra, with respect, because he is one of the best receivers in the game, he's perfect for the Lions, what's Amon-Ra going to do for the Browns right now?
Right, nothing.
Put up a lot of, he's going to be Jerry Jeudy, basically.
Why is you getting a receiver with no quarterback?
Yeah.
Because Deshaun Watson is dead.
Because
we know
that would be such a Browns thing to do, but
yeah,
the
but
Lions ain't.
come
They're
on,
not
what are
doing
we
that.
doing
Like, to
here?
even consider it, for me, I get it. We all have our opinions and such, but you're talking about people that this organization is identified as your culture setters.
Yeah.
Your lead by example guys. And now we see all these other players that get here, and they're just kind of fitting into a culture that these first players that Brad Holmes brought in here helped to build.
Yeah.
You don't go and rip that culture out of your team. You just don't gut
The
that.
Lions are in a certain position now to where you can have untouchables. There are certain people on this team, and that's why I brought that up. Like, Brad Holmes is not giving up certain players, especially players that are key to the Lions culture here, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of those people. I know the flagship kind of stirred it up yesterday, but that's that's not happening.
That was one half of one show because
true, that is true.
As you could see, Mike Valeni was even like,
he was like, no, that's
no,
him.
that's not me.
That's him.
Because the funny thing is, he knew. It looked like you could see it in his face. It's like, I'm gonna get blamed for this. He's like, no, not me. And KG, before we go on to what's trending, do you know what looking at the first round draft pick defensive ends reminded me of?
What?
We were right all along about Chop Robinson, and all the naysayers were wrong. The amount of people that talked about, oh, he didn't even get sacks at Penn State. I'm like, you didn't watch.
You're
this
right.
man's going to be really good, and he was very good for the Dolphins.
Yeah, man.
Very
we tried
good.
to tell him, man.
Tried to tell him.
We led you to TA as well, so just be patient. It's going to work out, people. It's going to work out.
Listen, looking back at all that draft coverage, and obviously we're going to get started with it again, KG. Shout out to Broder and KG last year, held down a lot of the social media draft coverage, and a lot of those top 5 picks, a lot of those players that were profiled, a lot of the ones that were in the Lions draft board, especially TA. We said that's the #1 pick on our draft board, and voila.
Hey, and guess who gave you say on Ivaki? My boy Broder, man.
Voila.
Shout out Broder,
That's
man.
what I'm saying. That's
It's a
it's
very
like
Broder thing to do.
Shout out Broder, man.
Nobody loves those kind of players quite like Matt Broder. But you know what? We love you, Broder.
We do, man. And you know what? That's what I love about the platform. That's what I love about the people here. Well studied, try to follow the trends, try to put on our thinking caps as, hey, if I'm in the chair of this person or that person, and then our connection as relates to these teams on the beat as well. It's like, you know what? we're going to always be dedicated and committed to trying to bring you guys the best of all worlds, our opinions as well as the beat and what's kind of out there as it relates to people's perspectives on trades, draft, and such, free agency. But JB Smooth, are we ready to spark a word to jars?
Yeah, let's do it.
Jail Ram. I'm sorry. Rail Jam.
And now it's time for the most electrifying segment on the internet. Bum, bum, bum. It's What's Trending with JB. Live on Wake Up Woodward.
Fresh off getting railed is my boy JB Smooth.
Come on.
Big rocks, boy.
It's not me, it's George. It's the Rail Jam.
No, that's you, JB. That's you.
Are you doing the railing?
Just take ownership, dog. That's
I
you.
didn't even say nothing. It was the Jars Rail Jam. Like,
I will. I have JB's alibi. He was not getting railed.
thank you. Thank you. Bro.
JB was trying to get railed at the Bunny Ranch. That's what he told us yesterday.
Hey, none of that
Probably
was
trying to do the
happening.
railing, actually.
None of that was happening.
He's got a
at the
girlfriend.
Bunny Ranch.
He's got a
Trust me.
girlfriend, so like
Trust
no
me.
Bunny Ranch and JB. So go out.
Thank you, Flannel. Shout out to the chat family.
Rail
What's
Jam.
going on? It's Rail Jam. Unbelievable. KG, I got to ask you this question first because is John Cena's look transitioning to boxing?
What? Come on,
Wait,
dog.
what?
No.
I got the jean shorts with the Timbs.
Dog.
Shut up, Black Hollywood.
Dog, shout out to
Go.
my mans, dog. That is crazy. The
Wow.
the Timberland boxes.
With the socks, too, though.
Yeah, that.
Dog.
He in the New York fit, man. That
This is Stephen
crazy.
Fulton. He won a title this weekend and in
Yeah.
some fashionable attire. I'll say that jean shorts with the Tim boots.
This looks like a down south summer,
Hold on,
bro.
so are those boxing shoes or are those actual Timberlands? Because it's hard
I
to tell
think
from
those
this
are
angle.
boxing shoes
That just look like Timberlands.
Yes.
That is nuts, bro. Shout out to him, man. That's fire right there.
This is a very unique look.
Dog,
I will
that's
say
kind of
this.
swaggy, dog.
I'm trying to tell you,
Yeah.
bro.
Watch people start just wearing that look. Also, I mean, people already do.
Yeah, that's
People
a fact.
already do.
It's an iconic look,
Yeah.
man.
I had to ask. I had to ask you guys that question as well too. This one is for all my hockey fans out there. Be careful when you're out there at night on your outdoor rink. That's all I'm saying.
What's about to happen?
Oh shit!
Yo! Oh!
Damn!
Oh, his legs don't work no more. Oh!
Like I said, be careful out there.
This is some Looney Tunes stuff, bro.
Damn, he face planted too.
It's how he started cruising right before. Like,
Right.
Like he's at the front of the Titanic, like,
Right,
hey.
full stride.
Look at him, bro. Look at him. He jumps up,
That's
and then
crazy.
watch him. Yeah. Oh, no.
Face plant too. That
Get
is-
better friends, too. All his friends is doing is laughing at him, dog.
That's why you can't mess with them frozen lakes, bro. Get on some real ice. Don't be messing with them frozen lakes.
Goodness.
Jesus.
They've got
man.
they've got the little like skate rink over at the park, a couple blocks around the corner, and I was on a little run last week between the shows, and I want to get out there and skate, but part of me is worried it's getting a little too warm where it's starting to melt. So
You're gonna end up like this, Chase. I'm trying to warn you.
no, I can barely skate as it is, bro. So I'm not trying to end up like that.
Damn, he was going fast.
I know. It's rough out there. It's rough out there. And finally, I will end what's trending with this because I have figured it out, you guys. This is the end of mermaids. This is why you don't see mermaids anymore.
Oh shit!
Oh, no.
Yeah.
SeaWorld fights back.
Oh, snap.
The fish that had enough of y'all bullshit, nigga, they taking their power back. They taking their power back.
She's like, no, I'm done.
Right.
I am done. Out of here.
Y'all ain't about to keep putting me on display every day at 4 o'clock. Like,
Like, do they at least have like oxygen things or they don't got nothing? So my girl
There's
couldn't
nothing.
even gasp, bro. Like I'm
Nah,
getting
I
eaten
mean-
by a shark. I can't even like.
And it kind of looks like the goblin shark, but the goblin shark has much sharper teeth. That I don't know what fish that is. It could be like a really big sturgeon or something.
I know
don't
what
really
fish
know.
that
You
is.
can't
That's a
even
fish I'm not
scream,
fucking
dog.
with. That's what that is. I know what type of fish that is.
Mermaids are real though. The ocean is so big.
Yeah. No, I believe they are.
So this happened at a
Some murder
restaurant. Obviously, the woman went up to swim for air once this happened as well too. The restaurant did check on her to make sure she was okay. They even sent her home with a couple $100, but I
What?
mean, that's about it.
$200.
Yep, just a couple $100.
I don't know. Y'all might want to put that fish on the plate and get another one in here. He pissed off. Y'all might want to stop messing with my man. He almost bit her fucking head off.
Yeah.
A couple hundred, is that enough? If your head almost gets bit off?
No.
No, not at all.
I feel appalled for her. Like, goodness gracious. What are we doing here? $200?
It's time.
I would lose my absolute mind, bro.
Put that fish in the hibachi plate. It's time, bro.
At the very least.
It is time. Oh, man.
But that's it for what's trending, you guys. Let's hop into some mailbag.
Hey, Weezy D threw a 3 gefilte fish off rush hour.
Gefilte fish. Goodness gracious, dog. That's wild, man. I'm just looking at this like, no.
All right.
I would never even do this.
All I know is we've got a lot of reads. I know I got Mark White.
We got Mark White, merch, and then Feldman.
Get those Feldman questions into the chat. We will spend about 5 minutes reading them.
Mark White, gonna do you right. Mark White, gonna change your life. Shout out Easy. Dreaming of a new home but feeling the financial pinch? Mark White and Associates, your trusted real estate experts, are here to help. Mark White and his team will pay up to $5,000 of your closing costs. That's right, I said $5,000. Call Mark White and Associates today at 248-290-8242 or visit them at markwhitesells.com. Again, call Mark White today at 248-290-8242 to make your dreams come true.
And when you're talking to Mark White, hopefully you're wearing some Woodward merch swag as well too. Head over to woodwardsports.com, click on that shop tab. We got new designs coming for you every single week. You know we got the Civilian 16, but we also got the Let's Effing Go Red Wings hoodies, t-shirts as well too. And we can't forget about the Tigers because the season is starting up very, very soon. Get yourself decked out in some Woodward Sports merch right now. woodwardsports.com, just click on that shop tab.
And Feldman. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. With 18 locations, there's a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit FeldmanAuto.com to find the location nearest you. Feldman Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer.
Hey, you know what? At Greg 2025 in the chat, and that's Greg with 3 G's in his name, actually.
Hey.
Shout out to you, man. He's just been encouraging the whole entire show. Just want to say, man, I see you out there, man. It goes a long way. And right now, chat family, it is time for the Wake Up Woodward Mailbag segment presented by the Feldman Automotive Group. So get those Feldman Mailbag questions into the chat.
Got one super chat from Dante151 because it's given love
Shout
for
out.
Broder. Can't forget Broder's love for Lad McConkey. And Broder,
Yeah.
I know you're watching because
Fine,
you popped up when we mentioned you earlier, but that was a fantastic take by you. Lad McConkey was the most impactful rookie wide receiver in the NFL this year. Justin Herbert owes a lot of his regular season success to Lad McConkey. And oh, by the way, Lad McConkey balled out in the playoffs. It's just that Justin Herbert choked on a big one. And I love Justin Herbert, but facts are facts.
Lad McConkey was their only hope in the playoffs.
He was so good.
It was him and nobody else.
Nobody to a fantasy championship too. So shout out to Lad.
And respect to guys like Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. They might end up being better overall players, but they unfortunately toiled on some terrible teams. Not their fault, but what Lad McConkey was able to do in impacting winning was being that just slot demon was spectacular. He was, I think, everything that Broder thought that he would be and more.
Shout out to Broder, man. He did a great job with his coverage, did a great job with that draft as well, and was the first one, really one of the first ones to break the whole Terry Arnold is a guy. I remember that, man, and it was pretty dope to see it all unfold. People thought he was crazy on air, and when it unfolded, it was like Broder was Nostradamus, man.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. I'm seeing people in the chat already get those mailbag questions in. Steve Wild says, because I know we covered Ben Johnson going to the Bears, but we didn't cover necessarily we got paid. I know this was even wild to JB Smooth too. They paid Ben Johnson $13 million per year, which shows how bad the Bears are. And he goes on, paying a guy who's been a coordinator for 2 years, the most of any coach in the league, is what the Bears do.
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson was certainly overpaid, but they're trusting him with helping turn Caleb Williams into a superstar quarterback. And if Ben Johnson does that, he's worth every penny. It's just, does Caleb Williams have that in him? Is Ben Johnson a head coach material? Those are things to be seen, but it could go, I think it could either go very, very well or fired after a couple of years. I don't think there's going to be any in between.
Yeah, what about you, JB Smooth? Because I know you were like, what? This is so Bears.
This is so Bears, honestly. That's a lot of cash to throw at a offensive coordinator that you're promoting to a head coach that kind of hasn't proven himself all that much. And like I said, it's just a lot of money. I was shocked by the deal. 5 years, $65 million, $13 a year. Like,
Jeez.
It probably took that to pry him away from the Detroit Lions. And we know that that's the place he wanted to go. Like, think about it. That's why he wanted to go, but I do believe the Lions were an appeal for he and his family. They did speak to that. And you see it took a long deal. Yeah. It took a lot of money to pry him away. And I wish him nothing but a failure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything you did for the Lions.
So you mean this is the reason why he wasn't focused on that game? Because he was trying to hammer out this deal with the Bears? Is that what you're saying?
I'm literally on the sideline thinking, literally on the sideline. Yeah, I wonder if I could get 4 for 56.
Like, it was one play. He was supposed to be looking at the call sheet, and he was looking at his cell phone.
Nope,
JB.
on the sideline.
Right?
I was like, what?
Damn.
Jordan
Baby with the snipe.
Jordan from MI4KG can respond. No, Feldman Mailbag. Would you guys rather have Brandon Ingram or Lonzo Ball?
That's
I love
a hell
you,
of a
Jordan from
comparison.
I love you, bro.
Right.
Also, any sleeper trades you think they could make? I would rather have Brandon Ingram. I put that in print. We put that in shows.
Yeah.
Woodward Pistons, Wake Up Woodward. We've all talked about it. Rod Beard talked about it. But obviously the situation is that they probably won't be in play. Lonzo is headed to a situation, though, where he actually might get waived after the trade deadline if they can't find a trade partner. That's the latest reports. And that's where it's a little interesting. You would think that if you want Lonzo Ball, they just say, look, bro, we just need a couple draft picks.
Right.
Second-round draft picks. You would think that the Pistons would have already done that or been on top of that. But it makes me think, what else do they have lined up? When we heard the news, the reports from the Pelicans media and some of their people who follow the team state that if they don't trade Brandon Ingram to another team, not that the Pistons would get Ingram, but that the Pistons and Pelicans do have something set up or some type of a secondary trade in the works to help the Pelicans and their cap get some cap relief. So there are some interesting players there that honestly would really benefit the Pistons just as much as people like the idea of Alonzo Ball.
Yeah.
And if Lonzo is a situation to where he might get waived, that's probably why they holding out. They waive him after the trade deadline. That's an easier pickup for the Pistons, and you get to keep all your draft capital.
Yeah, and I will say, I will say this, and I know you mentioned it in our group chat, and I was at the game as well as you were covering it. Lonzo looked like Lonzo, and I'm not saying, and I'm not saying that there's obviously a ceiling to how impactful he can be coming off of that really bad knee injury that kept him out for like 2.5 years. But when I say Lonzo looked like Lonzo, it was the way he was moving. He didn't look like he was coming off of a bad knee. You know that Lonzo step back three where only he makes it look uniquely like Lonzo. Fluid, very fluid, and he was knocking him down. So shout out Lonzo Ball. I'm very happy for him on a personal level, and I would love for him to be a Piston.
100%. I know JB was one of those guys who, you know what? You put the JB Bickerstaff stuff out there, and then you put the Lonzo Ball stuff out there, and now we see that there is interest. It'd be interesting to see. And we know that there's a relationship between the Ball family and Detroit, for better or worse.
Right.
And they must have kissed and made up, because LiAngelo was able to, perform that song at the Lions game. So
Lord.
shout out to because at first, what's the name was mad, like, man, they cut my son, and look at them losing right now, man.
Right.
My son couldn't play on that squad. Just like, come on, man. But it's cool to see him having, like, at least Lonzo having this type of success. It's cool to see all of them.
We swerve and bit that corner.
All of
I was about to say, LeVar was right. All along.
He was right.
Tried to tell you.
You know,
man.
we said that early on. A lot of us said that early on, and it's cool to see. But
and if you want some good comedy fodder, that bimbo Christine Leahy getting put in her place, stay in your lane.
Damn.
All-time
Stay
great.
in your lane.
That was so good.
Damn, why you call Christine Leahy a bimbo,
because
though?
She is a bimbo. Because she has nothing meaningful. Where's she at right now?
Yeah, well, true. But bimbo, though?
Yes.
Damn.
He's standing up business.
I feel you. Shit.
Randall
Stay
Smalls.
in your lane.
It was so good.
Hashtag Feldman Mailbag. If Bregman falls through, would you guys trade Foley to Phillies for Alec Brown?
I probably would, actually.
That's not a bad move.
I actually probably would. Not going to lie.
Not a bad move.
Man, I like, for whatever reason, things that make Randall Smalls and Flannel Sam Kumbaya on anything. Like, it's just like the aura in the whole room is like, wow. That's electric energy.
Jason Foley was really... He was at times, and Broder always talked about at the beginning of the year, he was throwing 101 and was dominant. But throughout like the course of the season, he wasn't one of your better bullpen pieces. In fact, he wasn't even being used in the playoffs. You could get along with. I'd love to have Jason Foley in the bullpen, but I would do that trade 100%. Foley for Baum, sign me up.
Yeah, we're signing Bregman though.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Keep that, yeah.
Okay.
Keep speaking into existence. Hey, listen, Michigander 1212 Feldman Mailbag. What is more likely? This is kind of based around our topic of the day, our theme of the day, which was Myles Garrett. What move is more likely to happen? Brad Holmes trades multiple picks for Myles Garrett, or Brad Holmes moves up in the draft to get an elite edge rusher?
Moves up in the draft.
I would have said that if I didn't see him trade for Zadarius Smith, but the more likely is probably that. But that's what I'm saying. If it's that frame, I don't know if he moves up in the draft for a defensive end. I think it's more likely that if you're going to trade the picks, that you do it for Myles Garrett.
I can't see Brad moving up in this draft because what's the need to? You've already solidified a lot of positions on this team. Even if you were to just wait till your pick come around and just make the draft pick, there'll be good defensive ends around the 28 to 30, 32. So
you know what? Maybe I'm he of little faith. I'm gonna change my answer.
Let's rock.
I'm gonna change my answer because you guys are right. I've been operating a little bit too much from the premise that it's never gonna happen, but here's why it should. But you guys are right. What's the need to trade up for an edge, considering where they're at, who's available?
They're good.
Yeah,
man, they're in a really good position. It's like when we have these conversations, obviously we're all gonna have our different emotions, different takes, and that's like as we talk them through. My take came from that as well. I'm just like.
Yep.
Man, like I remember the other day, Flannel was talking about the fact that the Lions may have, even if Sawyer's not there, an opportunity to be able to select a couple decent defensive end, prospects, and that's where it got me thinking. Like, you know what? If I was going to spend the extra picks, it would be for Myles.
And one from Broder, a mailbag.
Shout out. Hey, that'll be our last one.
What would you grade the 2024 Tigers trade deadline? A++++, considering what happened.
Oh
my God, that's a shot at Ben Verlander and Tom Mazaway. Whoa! But seriously,
no, he looks like a genius now.
You traded Jack Flaherty as a sell. You were still able to make the playoffs with Trey Sweeney playing a big role in that, even though he cooled off down the stretch and in the playoffs. You got a top 100 prospect in Tyron Lorenzo.
Yep.
Jack Flaherty was able to get his World Series, which, shout out to him, very happy for him. And then you get him back. That is a win-win trade because the Dodgers, they were on the verge of becoming just like a postseason choking franchise, and they still have left some on the table. But now that they got two, that really solidifies your run. If you get one, you can say it's fluky, and certainly the fact that it was in the 2020 season gave some merit to that. But now they have two, and the Tigers now have Trey Sweeney, Tyron Lorenzo, and Jack Flaherty back. A++++, win. Shout out to Broder for getting that sweet vindication.
Yes. They're trying to get you in the chat, man. Don't read Ronald's don't read his chat. I love Ronald. But you know what?
Jesus Christ.
Shout out Scuba too.
Paid up.
He paid up, y'all. He wore the J-Mo jersey. He says this, though. Just one really quick question for me before we wrap up. He says, I dislike the Packers more than any team in the NFC North. Got to ask you guys really quickly. We go around the horn. Who's the team that you hate the most in the NFC North?
Packers.
Packers.
Bears.
Cavassier?
Just the NFC North?
Yeah.
Packers.
Packers for me, too.
The uppity fucking Packers.
The Packers, dog. Why the different one for you, JB Smooth?
Just because the hurt of Ben Johnson and just the trash-ass team that you building over here for no reason.
I am going to hate watch the Bears more this season.
Yeah, that's a good – the Ben Johnson factor is that's a good angle, JB. I didn't think about that. But I still don't think it puts him ahead of the Packers in terms of a hate.
Generational hurt with the Packers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to take over their arena, their field last year with Sheila just walking around like, I own this spot now.
Right. Xavier D, no, I'm not loving that shit at all. Now, seeing you and JB yesterday, chatting it up, yes, I'm pissed off that Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble.
Don't be hating over there. Don't be hating, man.
I mean, I'm not hating for real, but I don't think that was the right decision. I think there was a lot of other women that you could have gave that distinction to, but it is what it is. We got another fucking Charlotte Flair match at WrestleMania. It makes sense, bro. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Hey, shout out to C-Note 313. His day, it's already started good, about to get better. He says, I'm about to take moms to Bob Evans. Have a blessed one, Woo Crew.
Hey, that Bob Evans breakfast slaps
too, man.
Yep.
Like, that's dope.
Shout
man.
out C-Note, man.
Hey, put y'all family members and friends and all of that, man. Text it, Woodward Sports, WU Crew, all of that, man. Let's blow this platform up. Appreciative of everything that you guys have done to get us this far. It's an awesome time, like especially with the events we have, the boots on the ground, the watch parties. There's just so much that we're appreciative of, and we get to do this every day. And you all are a big, big, big part of that chat family. Thank you for smashing that like button today. And if you haven't gotten the opportunity to, smash that like button. Shout out to Matthew Broder, man. We love you, bro. Good to see you in the chats. As always, continue to just crush life and be one of those great human beings, man. Shout out as well to our 1 year. This is the 1 year of Wake Up Woodward.
No, stop
I know for a lot of us, we've been here longer than a year, but still, at least for what this means and where things were to where things are today, we appreciate you guys. Shout out to that dude, Justin. He cannot wait to be back here. I just want to say this on air. He cannot wait to be back here, and it's paining him.
Oh, he's a pit bull. Yeah,
he's a pit bull.
Yeah.
He's putting in that work at school. Shout out to Cavassier Chase. Chase GPT was all over the show today. What up, though, brother?
Hey, what up, though? How's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Stay tapped in for Big D Energy here in about 52 minutes. Ermanni and Edwards. We got the heavyweights kicking off the day. Hope you guys tapped into their 18-hour stream over the weekend. Those guys are
Crash out Nick.
Those guys are some dogs. And Nick,
shout out to Nick.
Nick, if you're watching, man, I told you on Friday, dude. Like, you got me in your corner for whatever you need, my guy, dude. Like, much respect to you. Like, hats off to you, man. Nick deserves all the love and all the credit and all the respect from the WU Crew, the Woodward family, the chat. Like, Nick's a dog.
Nick, he my guy. Boo Boy's in the building, man.
I will
That's my guy.
fight anyone personally if they slander Nick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Nick, you got a real one in your corner, my guy. Like, respect to you. And shout out my dad. Shout out the guys at Seymour Ford. Stay tapped in the rest of the week, you guys, and I look forward to hanging out with you.
Hey, Kool-Aid, we got to release that Pistons games footage, Nick, that day. That shit was was epic.
That was epic, dog. That was epic. The boots on the ground. I'm gonna send it to him. I'm gonna get it,
up, bro.
I see my man in the chat. He says Ryan says that guy back there is getting the hot towel treatment. He's getting facial and treatment and all of that. Hey, shout out to him back there.
No J Tuck though. No J Tuck, please.
Yeah.
Let's respect our Jane, so it's not get crazy.
Hey, let's rock. You know what? In that sound booth, we got Detroit's #1 draft pick. That is KGS. As we shout out Nick and all the hard work he does and how we will go to bat for him, there's a lot of those people like that here at Woodward Sports. And there's a lot of them like that here on this show. KG in the sound booth, Detroit's #1 draft pick, a.k.a. Black Hollywood Rookie of the Year, going for MVP. Superlative after superlative for these crews, man.
Yeah, that's true. I ain't giving up my hair for the brand, though, so fuck all that, man. Hey, Nick, you a real one, dog. You look like a 54-year-old man, though, but shout out to you, man. You know I got much love for the Booth Boys, but nah, man, y'all know the spiel, man. Shout out to everybody for joining us today. We appreciate y'all, man, joining us every single morning. Shout out to my team, man. Let's keep this shit rolling, bro.
Hey, shout out to Woodward Sports MVP in the TD booth. Today it's a Tuesday, though. In the TD booth, what up, though, JB Smooth?
Yo, what's
Crushing
going
it,
on?
as always.
Thanks to all the chat family in there hanging out with us once again. Happy anniversary to us, man, for making it a year. Shout out to WU Crew, man. We locked in. Hope we locked in for once again another year. As DJ Cal says, another one. Everyone be safe today. If you're going down with, as well as Kool-Aid, to the Earl Puritan event that's going on right now, be safe, enjoy the event, have fun in celebration.
Hey, let's rock. Shout out to Woodward Sports' vet of the squad, vet of the network, for WU Crew as well. All sports know a Red Wings correspondent. That is Flannel Sam. What up, though, brother?
Hey, great show today. Great. You know what was funny, just to circle back to the heavyweight stream before we sign off? I obviously showed my wife what happened to Nick's hair, and she was just like so sad for him. And I know we were all just like, when I first saw it, I was on the floor laughing in a way that don't think I've ever laughed in my life. But the saving grace, the thing that I was able to tell my wife is in the morning, I think the heavyweights and each of them individually posted a picture of them just in the post-stream, kind of bliss. And Nick at least got to shave his head completely bald. He didn't have to go out and go home to his girlfriend with that hair. I was genuinely worried he was going to get broken up with.
It was dope to see him too say, you know what? shout out to having a girl that understands.
Yeah,
like
man.
that understands what we're trying to do, and she loves me for
It's
me.
nothing like it, man.
It's nothing like I'm
Nothing
telling
like
you
it.
guys, and that level of confidence. This is an air that you walk on, man. When you got that type of connection. Shout out to Nick. He's a good person. He deserves that, and I relate completely, man.
Yeah, no. I be questioning my wife, like, why do you like me so much? Like, something wrong with you. Like, I don't understand. It just don't compute why you like me
say
this
something
much.
bad about me, please.
Right,
Like,
please.
I look like Tyson Beckford.
Nobody can like me for this long.
Hey, you know what? It's your boy Brandon, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, your credential Pistons reporter and writer for the network. This has been a great show. Again, shout out to the legend. Rest in peace, Earl Cureton. I'm glad that they're doing this great honor for him. It's been a year of honors for him.
Yes.
We were at the Michigan Hall of Fame where we saw Braylon Edwards and Tweety Bird, Deanna Nolan, as well as Earl Cureton posthumously be honored as a Michigan legend. And today they're going to do a step further in a community that he grew up in, that affected his life, and then he gave his own time and money to help change the lives and fortunes of so many other people. So shout out to them out at St. Cecilia. Yeah, let's get out of here, man. It's been a show. Stay blessed, you guys. It's been Wake Up Woodward. Hit that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Woodward Sports proudly brings to you it's Woodward Sports Tag Team Champions of the World. Hey, your boy KG, your boy JB here. It is Woodward ringside. Y'all know what it is by now.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.